munch.
Mhm.
And we're
Yeah.
live. What's going on?
Ah,
Ah, I'm
hello,
so
sir.
happy we're doing this. It's been forever. Well, it's been
It's
forever
been
since we
so
spoke.
long.
It's been forever since we spoke on the phone in like a proper conversation.
I was about
But
to
it's been
say. I was about to say.
any form of communication between the two of us. Has been limited for the last month, considering you've been traveling all over the world. I want to hear all about it.
It's true. I like that texting most days is limited communication.
Well, also, I mean, yeah, but it's we're pretty good. I have a hard time recently. I think because oh crap, I put too much maple. Damn it. It's gonna be so sweet. It's gonna be gross.
Uh,
Um, I have a I I respond to time sensitive texts very quickly, and texts that are just like open ended and conversational. I leave for when I have time to to respond to them and like give them some thought and give them some attention, but
Same,
yeah.
and yeah, and especially finding time to respond to that kind of stuff while traveling. I mean, let me see right now. I have like at some points I did catch up, but then it kind of like it builds back up. So I've been home for nearly a week now, and I have 258 texts in iMessage,
Oh
just
dear.
because they build back up, you know. So like
Yeah.
you never quite catch
are,
up.
are,
It takes a little longer. Oh no, they're mostly group chats. Individual texts. Like if somebody's texting me 50 texts in a one-on-one and I haven't responded, that's a bigger problem. A little over, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, so we started in Florida. We went down to Florida. Oh, you're back. Yeah, I hear you.
on?
No,
Okay. Okay,
because
perfect.
I know you went away.
We're back on track. Oh man. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what is up with this app. This app sucks, by the way, and I'm trying to be as charitable as possible, but freaking Riverside.fm, you got to get your shit together because your app sucks. Um,
Is it owned by Spotify? Like, what's the relationship between that and
No, no,
Anchor?
no. I don't think they have, but I think that Anchor cuts me off at an hour, and this doesn't. But this is glitchy, and this.
Huh.
I mean, if yeah, I don't know. It's been more than a mess, and
Yeah.
I've been trying to keep my patience, but it sucks. So you
Well,
start off in Florida,
how
yeah.
much would Anchor cost for them to not cut you off?
I don't know. I mean, the truth is that
Hmm.
I have to look into it. But it almost feels that if there are free services, if the answer is anything more than free, then it's not worth it, Um,
Yeah. Oh, Anchor will,
especially
I think,
because
cut you off after two. Not Anchor. Riverside will cut you off after 2 hours. So it's just
no, Riverside
different.
can, I've been 2.5 hours and it's kept me going.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. I don't
But,
know.
yeah, but, I mean, eventually what I'll do is I'll get a microphone and then I just have to upload the audio from that, right?
So part of what these apps do is if you're just recording everything on your side, then it records all of the audio on your side, which means that you'll sound nice and crisp. But anybody that you're talking to, it's going to sound like you're recording a phone
Oh,
call
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's what it
No,
is.
no, no. I'd only do the microphone if I was in person with other people.
Oh yeah. I mean, do you have that microphone that we bought forever ago?
Yeah, I do. Sure.
Yeah.
I
So
have
you
no
might
idea
be
how
able
to
to use
use
that.
it, but yeah, I have
That's part of the
it.
problem is that once you're using a real microphone, now you have to know how to edit audio. Like I have the recordings from those two podcasts we recorded. I just never did anything with it because,
Well, I don't think you have to. I don't think I don't edit anything that I do.
so that's part of using these apps is you don't have to if you use these apps.
Oh yeah,
Otherwise,
that's
you
the
do.
benefit.
Yeah.
What do you have to edit?
Minimal. So like, I mean, the stuff that we did specifically, we recorded in like a
A
car.
car, right?
So I have to like adjust the audio. You basically have to do some level of post processing to make the audio sound nice.
Okay.
Um, at minimum. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, we started off. We went to Florida for a few reasons. One was to bring Blue to Rachel's mom,
Blue's a
and then
wonderful
also
dog.
yes, she is the best dog. She's lying at my feet right now.
Wonderful.
Um,
What's her temperament like? You said that she started off a little bit more rambunctious, right?
well, I mean, she's an Australian Shepherd, so like the most
I don't know what that
energetic.
means.
So shepherds in general, so like Aussies, which is what Blue is, Border Collies, they were bred to be cattle dogs, so they're meant to be in fields all day, um, telling cows what to do.
Mm.
So that's part of why if you get one from a breeder, and there's a movement to stop this because it's really horrible because they have such glorious tails, but they chop their tail off like before you could even do anything.
No. Why?
Yeah, because if you're having a dog hang around with cows and a cow steps on your dog's tail, it's not good. And that's something that I think is very likely to happen otherwise.
How long is their tail that it's in risk of being stepped on?
Oh, Australian Shepherds have, I mean, do you know what like border collies look like? They're similar dogs.
No, I have to look them up. I'm afraid to leave the app in
So
case it crashes again, so I'll have to do
no,
another
so
talk.
they have it's like normal like long tail. It's not so different from like a golden retriever tail. So it's long and it's like very fluffy. It's a really beautiful tail. It's a hazard. Like I've met people just walking around in Seattle with Blue that have Australian Shepherds that still have their tails, and they tell me that it's like really a
Pain in the
hazard. Like
ass.
they knock stuff off of like tables. Like it's just yeah.
Right.
Um, but it also at the same time you don't
So
recognize
maybe they
how
weren't meant to be
much
pets like that, like house pets.
they're not. I mean that's true for any rambunctious dog with a tail. Like their tails tend to just kind of
Get in the way of everything.
yeah. I mean it's this thing that's waving every which way. Basically somebody like a child running around with like a big broom, right? Like
Right.
um
Yeah. Speaking of which,
but
did you get
yeah.
the videos of Shua? Of Shua's new obsession is with Swiffer broom.
No.
And Rocco is washing dishes, and she looks out the window, and she just sees that Shua managed to get his way outside, and he's just leaving the property, holding this Swiffer broom, just walking out the backyard.
Oh my God.
She's like, "No, what are you doing? Where are you even going with that thing?"
Oh my God. Okay, after this call, I need that video.
Yeah,
And also that's very fitting to transition from his love of vacuum cleaners. It feels like just yesterday that he was pulling himself around on the floor because he didn't know how to crawl yet, going after the vacuum cleaner.
yeah, yeah. It's funny
Uh,
to see. It's funny to see because he really doesn't think. He doesn't think twice about walking now. Like it's
yeah,
like crawling is just like out of his it's not a default at all. It's just out of his like he does it. Don't if he's crawling, he's either exhausted and being silly, which doesn't really happen, but every now and then, or something's bothering him. Like if he hurts his foot or his knee or something, he'll crawl. But
yeah,
short of
that
that,
makes
he just
sense.
yeah, he just walks.
It's so interesting to observe.
It is, dude. It's really crazy to observe. It's so much fun to observe, but it's really crazy. So,
Yeah,
so you flew to Florida. And
yeah,
while you were there, you were primarily on the northwest coast of Florida, right?
completely. Yeah, we were in Longboat Key. We were supposed to be there for all of Rosh Hashanah. So that didn't happen because we had one normal day, and we're like,
You were
Sunday
there
we're
around the
supposed.
time of hurricane. What do you call it? Um,
Helene, yeah.
Helene,
So we were
Helene.
supposed to fly out Wednesday. It's like Sunday night, and Debbie, Rachel's mom, texts us and is like, there's a hurricane coming in, so maybe you guys should fly in earlier. Of course, nobody is reasonable enough to be like, if there's a hurricane, maybe we shouldn't just fly in,
Right.
and maybe you should come to us or something. So we changed our flight to Tuesday, fly down a day sooner. Um, we have one normal day. And then the next day, it's already getting pretty stormy, but it's like cool to see. Like the waves are getting pretty huge.
Yeah, it's
Debbie's
crazy.
place is on the beach, so she has binoculars. So I'm like, distracting myself from work to like go and look at these giant waves that are forming. Um, and then the power goes out. And for context, we weren't like totally insane. We were tracking the hurricane pretty closely and knew that we weren't going to be in the direct path of it. And
Right.
it's also never happened that Longboat Key has ever like been underwater. So we thought like,
That's
we're
weird, really?
yeah, so we thought like worst case scenario, we'll be stuck without power or water for a few days, and that'll be it.
Right.
Because that's I mean that's what it's been in the past, and like we were totally prepared for that. So like we stocked up on like peanut butter and bread and snacks, and we filled like buckets, and we bought tons of water. And then, of course, what we learned about is the storm surge that apparently big hurricanes come with. So it pushed crazy, crazy amounts of water, even though we weren't anywhere near like the direct path of the hurricane.
Yeah.
I mean, it was stormy because we're near it, but like it just pushed insane amounts of water. So we're just watching the water get higher and higher.
Oh my God, it's
Um,
so unnerving.
it's really unnerving. And then at some point, there's like her place isn't fully on the beach. There's like dunes with plants and stuff
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
normally
sure.
catch all the water. So um, at some point, the water gets high enough that it covers completely all of that, and it's just uninterrupted water from the ocean to the door
Oh
and
my
the wall and the
goodness.
side of the house. So now you have these giant waves just coming and slapping into the side of all of these homes.
Is this
Um,
a house or a townhouse?
it's a condo, it's a townhouse. So
Gotcha.
they're built. So first of all, there's like the I don't know exactly the structure, but the condo people take care of like all of the exterior of the house. But then also they're a little bit newer, so they're all built to be able to withstand these crazy waves coming in. And the way
Hmm.
they do that is all of the load-bearing walls and all the load-bearing structures are perpendicular to the ocean. And then the lower walls, which is like the garage door and the other wall of the garage that are parallel to the ocean, are designed to break away. Which
Oh,
just
cool.
means
So
that
if
they're
anything happens, it just floats off. It doesn't damage the rest of the house.
yeah, I mean kind of like it's not like all that it means that it's designed to break away is that it's just a normal wall that's not load bearing at all. It's not like it still damages the rest of the house. It just doesn't damage the structure of the house.
Right. But that's the most
Um,
significant damage that you acquire.
yeah. I mean, what comes with that is like several feet of wall that needs to be opened up and cleaned out and replaced, and like if you have a car in your garage, all of the cars, like it doesn't, water is powerful. And I think we forget how powerful water is, but like the water, it knocked down all of these walls of these condos and then it pushed the cars into the garage doors. Like some of the garage doors were like fully buckled and just everything in the garage, refrigerator, car, all of the stuff is just shoved
Wow.
against it. Like one of her neighbors, the refrigerator was like on top of the car. I don't even understand how that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's like best case scenario. But then we're like driving around because thankfully the car at this point still worked.
Hmm.
And we're like seeing the island, and a lot of people weren't so lucky. Like they have, especially older places, they have living residences on the first floor, which means now
Yeah.
they are like they were fully full of water, or in some parts of the island, it literally dumped feet of sand. So like there
Wow.
were houses that were fully under sand. There was like a couple smaller places that just got like fully knocked down. So just like really crazy. I think a lot of stuff on the island is probably still rebuilding, and it's been what, like a month and a half. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
crazy. Um,
Yeah.
so after the first couple days, I mean, like it's the weirdest thing because you have like this crazy storm, and then you wake up the next day and blue skies.
Yeah, of
Um,
course. That's the crazy thing
so
about Florida, by the way. And a lot of
yeah,
times in the infrastructure, even if there's street flooding, the streets are, like you'll be like you'll feel like you're in the middle of like, like the apocalypse, and then and then like the next morning you'll wake up, you're like, wait, did anything actually happen? Like,
yeah. Did I dream
it's
that?
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Right. So the
It's
next morning you
wild.
get up and the skies are blue and everything's okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's debris and stuff everywhere, and the entire island was underwater. It's not a very big island. And so it washed off part of the road north of us, so we couldn't go very far north. And then south, you have to go through this area. It's called St. Armand's Circle. It's like this big, giant traffic circle with like shopping all around it, and it's very nice. But it was built in this way. I think it must be like a little bit below sea level, and it doesn't drain well. So it's common, even just for normal rains, for it to flood. And what
Mm.
happened here was obviously there's a hurricane and a storm surge, and the entire thing flooded. And then the water went into the generators that are supposed to like power the pumps for
Oh dear.
getting rid of the
Yeah.
water and broke those. So now they're like, okay, it's going to be at least 2 days before anybody can get off. We have to pump out all of the water.
Oh my goodness.
So we go back and we spend, day and a half, whatever, doing whatever cleanup and stuff we can. Um, Finally, we find out, okay, we can get off because thankfully, even though there's no power, the car was working, so we were able to charge at least one phone, and then there was still cell service.
Right.
So we weren't like totally disconnected. So we find, okay, they've like pumped out enough water that we can get off. So we go, and they're like, um, like we'll let you off. We have no idea when you'll be allowed back on. Um, so we pull over and we like, think about it for a second, just to do like a last final check that we've brought everything we need with us.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, it could be, it ended up only being like a few days or like, yeah, like less than a week until Debbie was able to go back on, but it could have been months. Like, there's no way
Could
to
have been,
know.
right?
Yeah. So like, yeah, so we do that, and we go to, like a shopping area with like a hotel in it in Sarasota. Um,
Hmm.
and we stay there for a couple days. And meanwhile, the car, which it's like having real issues because it was under feet of seawater. Like
Which car? Wait, this is Debbie's car?
this is Debbie's car, yeah.
Okay.
Um, like water fully came in through the tailpipes. So like when she started driving
Oh
it, like the
yeah.
water sloshing around, just crazy amounts of water are coming out the back.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I guess it like ruined all the sensors, so the car isn't telling us that anything is wrong. However, they're like every time it has to shift gears, it like lurches, so there's clearly something wrong with the transmission. And
Uh-huh.
then it's an all-wheel drive car, so whenever you'd make a turn, it would like especially struggle because I think like part of how any car works is when you're turning, the turn radius of the inner wheels and the outer wheels are different. So when you're turning, the wheels have to actually go different speeds.
Mm.
And there's like a mechanical part of how that works, but especially on all-wheel drive cars and modern cars, there's computerized parts of that as well. So those clearly aren't working. So whenever you try to turn, like tires are spinning, the whole thing's a mess.
Oh my
So like,
gosh.
okay, this car's clear. It's got limited life left, but it gets us to the hotel, and it got us what we needed. And then,
What was Sarasota like? Was Sarasota okay?
oh, totally fine. You wouldn't even know there was a hurricane.
Wow.
So
Thank
like
God.
you drive 10 minutes inland, and yeah, nothing.
Crazy. Okay.
It's wild. So part of this also is this is leading up to Rosh Hashanah. So we learned from 2 years ago when we had to abandon the house for a hurricane not to like overstock with food. But Debbie had still made like, meatballs and chicken soup and whatever. So we emptied out a freezer and put it in
Hmm.
a bin. So we get to the hotel. Debbie finds somebody, friend of a friend that could take the stuff. Happened to have emptied out their freezer before the hurricane and hadn't filled it up yet. So Rachel and I take the stuff. We put it in the freezer. We drive back to the hotel. On the way, we stop at a Target that's like maybe a 15-minute walk, just to get some things. And we get back to the car, and the car is refusing to start.
Mm.
And it has
Oh
not
dear.
started till this day.
Really? That's it?
Yep, the car is totaled. I don't actually know what the full plan is with the car, but like, yeah, she brought it for repairs, and like the cost of repair was basically the cost of a new vehicle.
Yeah,
Almost. It's
yeah. Well,
yeah,
when my Kia got stolen, I think the Kia. So it was interesting. I didn't even know how insurance decided this or not. But when my Kia got
yeah,
stolen, it had about 12 or $15,000 worth of damage done to it. I think it was $15,000.
yeah.
um, because they screwed up a lot of the computer system in the dash. I guess even in order to break in and take the car.
Yeah.
Um, I don't even know what they had to do, but and the whole stupid car is probably worth $22,000. So it's only a couple
Right.
$1,000 difference, but there's
Yeah.
time obviously, and there's and you have to go through a claim, you have to do all of that, and the insurance company decided to repair the car completely, even though it cost almost as much as the whole car cost just to do that repair work. And then when I went to bring it back to Kia to consider buying it back, I wasn't really going to buy it back unless I got a good
Mhm.
deal.
Yeah.
My buyback price was I think was $19,000 or $18,000,
It's not
and
worth that. There's no way. Oh man.
car's value on Carfax is like $8,500 because it
Yeah,
was stolen, and
exactly.
and I was
Yeah.
like, "Why? What are you talking about right now, guys? Like, this doesn't even make any sense. Like, why
Oh
would I
my
do
God.
this?"
That's so
But
crazy.
yeah, but remember, I mean, but most of the time they do end up being wins. Like, remember what happened with
Yeah.
Polly the Prius?
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, rip Polly.
We threw a
Yeah.
big party when we got our insurance money.
Yeah. I mean, you spent it on a new car, kinda. Um,
Yeah, but also on Beer
yeah.
Olympics. I think most of Beer Olympics was
No,
funded
yeah.
with Polly's money, right?
I think so. I mean, it was a Beer Olympics was only like a few $100, and you got thousands. I mean, you got enough to get a new car. So
Yeah,
it was a good deal. You definitely got more than Polly was worth, which is nice.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
you're in Florida for
Yeah.
how, for like a week?
Not even because we decide, okay, well, obviously we're not doing Rosh Hashanah here. So everybody else cancels their trips. Stefan still comes down because he wanted to, Rachel's mom's partner, he wanted to come down and help with stuff. He was like our man in the chair, by the way.
Ari,
Hello? Oh no.
Ari, you broke up. Hello,
Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Um, he was like going a little crazy. Uh, welcome back, welcome back.
Okay, so he's going a little crazy.
Yeah, he's going a little crazy because he's like very much like a action oriented kind of guy. Like he wants to be like getting his hands dirty doing stuff, but he's in Canada. He's, 2,000 miles away. He's nothing like he can't help so directly. So he's like, keeping us posted, first of all, before the hurricane on like everything the hurricane is doing. And then afterwards, he's like doing everything for us. Like he ended up booking us the hotel. So he comes down the day that we left because we didn't want to leave Debbie and Blue by themselves. Um, but I mean, my family was already planning on doing Rosh Hashanah in New York, so we just went up there a few days early because we were already planning on going there.
Right.
Um, considered all our options.
You
Considered
went to Manhattan or you went to New Jersey?
to Manhattan.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I went to my mom. She had already
Nice.
gotten like Oren was coming in, so my mom had a friend living across the street who had a cat that needed to be watched. I don't know why you need to watch a cat for a few days, because as far as I understand, you can just give the thing food and leave it. But good for us because we had a place to stay. So we
Yeah.
crashed Oren's place, and the
Nice.
three of us are watching this silly cat Theo, who was
Theo.
actually as Theo the cat. He was black and white, and as cats go, he was actually pretty good. But he was also really annoying. He would wake us up at 5 in the morning. I don't know why. He would like
How would he
walk
wake you
on
up? He
us.
would just yelp? Oh, no.
No, he would. It was painful. You'd be like in the deepest sleep of your life, and then all of a sudden somebody punches you in the balls
Oh my goodness.
because
Okay.
he's just walking all over you or punching you in the stomach.
What
Yeah.
was
So
what
so
was
I go
Manhattan
back.
like?
I mean, it
You hadn't been
was.
there in a while, right?
We actually went to Manhattan a fair amount this past year because we went. Oh man, we went for like three different weddings. We went Pesach, so we were there April, May, July, and when was our son? September. Um, yeah, so we were there a lot, and then, and then we're going back now in December and then February, and so I think we're gonna boycott New York for a little bit after that.
That's a lot, dude. That's a lot of
Yeah,
time to spend it. It's a lot of time to spend in the tri-state area if you're not living there.
it's
If you're not
it's
living there.
yeah, it's too much, especially because nobody living in Manhattan has comfortable places to host.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, yeah,
It's actually a
um,
South problem. It's a South Florida problem also, by the way, because most of these houses are not like if you're a family, of even three, then chances are you have less you don't have an enormous amount. Like
oh
most
yeah.
houses in South Florida are 3 bedrooms at 3 or 4 bedrooms at most. Like the
What's your new
Airbnb.
place?
My new place is a 3 bedrooms.
That's pretty good.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna
I
have.
mean,
I mean,
once the
we'll
second
see.
kid comes, it'll be a full house. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be a full house. But like even the bachelor party, right? This quote unquote beautiful Airbnb that's like 4 grand for what is it? 4 grand for 2 days, 3 days,
Three, yeah, something like that. It's like,
and it's a
yeah,
4 bedroom house. I mean, it's so
yeah.
stupid, dude. Like,
It's really crazy.
what?
It's this giant house. They have room for more bedrooms, but they don't do it.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
what it is. I don't know what it
yeah,
is. It doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah. It's weird. It is a South
Um,
Florida thing. Yeah, my cousins have a beautiful house in Golden Beach. I think they have. I guess they have like one guest room, but yeah, they don't. Yeah, it's like they don't have that many rooms, and they built their
yeah,
house, so they decided how many rooms they wanted. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I don't know.
It's a
I don't
thing.
know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's so
yeah,
strange. It really is.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
anyway,
New York, yeah.
yeah. I mean, New York was nice. It was nice. It's always nice spending time with family. My grandma crashed by my mom. So
Ah,
nice to see her. Um, and then we also spent a bunch of time. So Alex and Talia, I don't know if you know this, they live in the West Village now.
yeah, that's right. I knew
Yeah.
that. I knew that they were moving there.
Yeah, so they have this adorable one bedroom. It's a New York apartment, so it's small, but the ceilings are like super, super high. They've done a really good job of like making it feel cozy. So
Nice.
we hung out with them a bunch.
High
We
ceilings change the vibe of an entire place, dude. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. You could be living in a box, but if it's got high ceilings, then it doesn't feel
Like a
claustrophobic anymore.
box. Right.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice. I mean, granted, one of them, their bed has to be shoved in a corner because there's no room otherwise. So, one of them
Yeah.
has to snuggle with the wall, but at least you have high ceilings. Um,
When Andrew Weintraub, when he and I were living, when me, him, and Unger were living together, he um he opted to have a full size bed in his bedroom, but that meant that he couldn't have room for anything else.
yeah,
So he couldn't have a desk. I don't think he had a TV in there. And
yeah,
his I think his closet was not. Maybe he had one. Maybe he had like some like a dresser with some clothes, but his room was literally just like one little dresser and his full size bed, and that was it. You know,
yeah. I mean, I feel like it's still a move. Like, as an adult, to sleep in a full-size bed is kind of weak for a bunch of
necessary.
reasons. Or sorry, in a twin-size bed, yeah. Especially for an elongated man such as yourself.
It's so funny because
Yeah.
ever since I made the transition to a full size bed, which is like I guess it's been a good number of years now, but I
Yeah.
still don't know what to do with all the room. Like I usually use my bed as like storage for in Seattle. I used to sleep with my guitar in the bed and my
Yeah.
computer and like whatever is going on over there, and I'm like.
Yeah.
I just have so much room. I don't need all this space. I'm so used to sleeping in a twin bed for 20 years or more,
Yeah.
around there. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, as an adult, I feel like I need it, but I don't know what to do with it.
Well, you starfish, obviously.
I know, but it's not comfortable. I don't sleep starfishing.
No, of course, nobody sleeps starfishing. You still have the two queens.
No, not at the moment. We have a king, but
Okay, okay.
we have to put them in.
Yeah.
We have the beds. They're in the house,
Yeah.
but we have to just get the frames for them, and
Uh,
yeah, you have to just deal with that. And there's so many things to deal with on a day-to-day basis that like
yeah.
all any of these extra tasks just seem exhausting, you know?
Yeah. And not terribly necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you
Yeah,
think about just like the amount of effort that it costs to do it versus what there is to benefit, like I don't
yeah,
care.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah.
That's really what it is. I just don't care.
Yeah. Also,
But
king size bed is perfectly fine.
yeah, I mean, I we yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Most people sleeping in a queen with two people, and you're it's
Yeah.
funny, but you get used to it. You get used to it. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So in New York, in terms
Did you
of
do anything
like
fun
the
there, or you primarily did family things? Did you do like any entertainment?
no, primarily family things. One of my favorite activities in New York is to bike along the Hudson.
Hmm.
So I did take a city bike and do that one day, which was really nice. Because the weather was still beautiful at that time.
Yeah.
So that was very nice. We did, some like urban exploration, whatever. Yeah, no, it was nice. It was the first time probably in a while that I was like actively in a place where people are walking around doing like anti-Jewish protesting. So that was less great.
Really,
Like
you
we're
experienced that?
Yeah, I mean, you get people just walking around. Like, first of all, the security for everything is insane. Like, the shuls, obviously, you have, several
Uh-huh.
layers of security and like a whole like airlock system. So you go through one door, they lock it, and then they unlock the second door and let you in. Um,
When I was
they
living there, and this is before any of this, right? There was a point where I don't remember what it was. There was some kind of unrest and negative perception towards Jews,
There
and
always is.
before you walked into shul, the guy asked what the portion of the week,
Yeah.
the Torah portion of the week is, and and basically just to kind of see like that you're not just throwing on a kippah and trying to go shoot up a shul or do
Yeah,
anything.
which is funny to me because that's the question that they all ask. So, like, if I were going to try to sneak into a shul, like, that's a very
That's
easy
the first
thing.
thing you'd find out.
Yeah, like, there's so many. Yeah.
Well, it
Like
can't be
that.
shul or foreskin, like it's not gonna work.
Right, exactly. And they don't ask more questions. If they were like laying the first pasuk, then
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
But just to
yeah.
just to name a random portion is not difficult.
So what did you
Um,
experience? So what happened? Where were you? What was it like?
So I mean, so there's that, and then like, even for like doing Tosh lift, like walking up and down the Hudson, because I feel like that's where a lot of people do it. Every little group had a police presence, which was both nice to see and like also a little scary.
Hmm.
Um, and then we're in Was. I mean, you're also obviously everywhere you go, you're seeing various graffiti, you're seeing people walking around in keffiyehs, like all of that stuff. Um, so, like, the city in general is reminding you that you're not terribly welcome as a Jewish person, which I think is the point of what they're trying to do. And obviously, the answer to that is to say, no, fuck you, I'm gonna enjoy
Do
myself
whatever I
here.
want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we're in Washington Square Park on Shabbat because it's near Alex and Talia's apartment. And we go over, Rachel and I, we leave the group to go over to the bathroom. And we come back outside, and all of a sudden, the entire place has been taken over by this crowd of extremely angry protesters, just, screaming their heads off. But it was funny to like experience that from like a little bit farther away because, we're standing around other people. Like Rachel was online for the bathroom when this started. And
Yeah.
one of them's like, "Oh yeah, what's like the red and black flag?" And the other person goes, "I think that's Israel." And she's like, "No, no, no." So
Dude,
just, uh,
do you think that these people start off angry, or you think that it's just tribal, you're just with a bunch of angry people, and so you just like I can almost see it being like an experience, for a lot of the people that just don't know any better, and they just find themselves getting
yeah.
worked up, you know?
No, that's definitely a lot of it. I mean, there's so much research into like groupthink and all of that kind of stuff. There's no mystery there. You definitely have like some people that are just angry at the world and use it as a channel for that.
Outlet. Yeah.
But then you're in a group like that, like you get riled up.
It's
Um,
so interesting because I never really
yeah.
find myself at that temperament level.
Well,
You
you're
know,
not
like,
joining any pogroms.
well, I'm not, of course not, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't even find myself upset enough to even join one to allow that to happen. Like I'm just
Yeah.
the whole, like, while it's terrible, I'm curious. The whole thing is very curious to me. You know, really,
Yeah.
it's such a strange human phenomenon.
I mean, a lot of it you really can, I think, attribute to not having in your life a lot of stuff that you and I do have in our lives. So
Right.
like having a intact family structure, with like nuclear family, extended family,
Hmm.
having loving partners, having in your case children, like
Having hobbies, having
ha
passions, dude.
yeah, I mean, right,
Like
even
having
more than
things that
yeah.
are having things that are that you live for,
Having
that
things
you
that you
know
live
that.
for, having community, and so what happens is people are lonely, people are angry, and people don't have community, and so this becomes the religion for a lot of people. Like that was the I think I might have sent it to you a while back. There was a podcast, I forget even who it was, but they kind of pointed out that in modern history, every major wave of anti-Semitism has come through the big thing of the culture of that day. I think you and I have
Right, right,
discussed
right.
this, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So like now it's wokeism. So like wokeism is in a lot of ways the modern religion, quote unquote, and that's the lens through which we try to, or not we, but the hateful,
yeah. The
faceless
general.
mob tries to yeah, but mostly what I'm trying to get at is that it was that was the first good reminder of the trip that your average person, like really most people on the street, not only don't agree with this like hateful, horrible stuff that's going on, but aren't even really aware of it.
You think so?
Yeah, like dude, that they like looking at the flag for Palestine and think that it's the flag for Israel. Like they're not similar flags. Like they don't they're
Right,
like trying to
right.
figure out
They don't
like who
resemble
is
one
this?
another.
What's going on? Yeah. They're like, having trouble even like understanding like what are these people protesting? Why are they yelling? What do they want? Um, which we're obviously acutely aware of for a variety of reasons, but that was a good first reminder of that. And it also like even more than that to see how, and I don't really understand, like they must know this on some level. The way that all of these protests go about it is not bringing people to their side. Like it's, I think, a big contributing factor to the upcoming state of the American government is all of that. Like that, like it's like, they tried to force it down the throat of America, and America is literally throwing up and then vaccinating itself against it.
Right, right, right.
So it's yeah, so it's crazy. But anyway, yeah, so we had that experience. Oh, and then it was Michael's 31st birthday, so he happened to be in New York also, so we got to other than Stefan, we got to see everybody that we were going to see for
One way or the other,
Rosh
right? That's so
Hashanah.
nice.
So yeah, that was very nice.
By the way, yeah, I told you that you're the reason why the family, or anyone in the family,
Yeah,
remembered Michael's birthday. I was
it's
like,
so
and then
funny.
you texted me, and then I texted him, and then I texted the family group chat, and then everyone is like, "Oh shit, Michael, it's your birthday,
Yeah,
dude."
yeah, I love that.
uh, yes, he owes you one. He owes you one. I hear you, but it may have paused the recording on your end. Click OK, whatever. Yeah, okay, okay, cool. I don't know if there's dead air right now or not, but I'm just gonna continue talking. Seriously, Riverside FM, you gotta get your shit fixed, dude. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, really,
I
it's
was
it's
filling I
embarrassing.
was filling the radio silence. I was making I was
Nice,
making demands. I was making demands that Riverside FM get their shit together because
nice, nice,
this
nice.
is this is this is absurd. Yeah.
It's bad. Anyway, um, yeah. So yeah, generally pretty good. A little bit chaotic the beginning of the trip, but so then from there we fly to Tel Aviv for Yom Kippur and Sukkot,
Wait,
and
before Israel, because I want to talk to you about Israel. I want
oh
to
yeah,
just I still have more thoughts that I would love to elaborate on or get your
yeah,
feeling on.
yeah.
I think, especially just I was just thinking just in terms of anti-Semitism in America right now, right? And America's general, like I think that it's kind of split into two different camps. There's the kind of like what you experienced in New York, but I also think that for a lot of the either moderate or libertarian or left or even kind of right-leaning crowds nowadays, so a little bit of everyone, just I think that a little bit more towards the middle that have already gotten the feeling of being sick of war and America being involved in wars. I think that this timing, in particular, like between Ukraine and Israel right now, I think that more people. I think that if the Ukraine war wasn't happening, more people wouldn't just think that this is a military industrial complex, money making war. And so a lot of people, I think, are a lot more skeptical of Israel right now because it's almost like, oh yeah, sure, of course you need another war. Of course, you gotta go and help give them money and aid them and and fund them. And so it's interesting because I think it's a byproduct of people being sick of wars that we don't that America doesn't necessarily have to be a part of, and because it just I think it just fell out bad timing for Israel that people are looking at it like this now. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm getting that point, if I'm exactly articulating it. But do you understand what I'm saying?
Um, sorry, say again in a sentence.
I think people are grouping. People think that this war in Israel is happening right now just as an excuse for America to spend money on it and make and for
Oh.
military industrial complex to make money. That's
I
what
don't
I
know
think.
if I think it's more than that. I think
People think that. I think a lot of like people that because we spent an insane amount of money in Ukraine, and now that everyone's getting sick of it, I think I've heard a lot of suspicions. I've seen on on Twitter and podcasts or whatever that
yeah.
like this is just another one of those like America's excuse to have a war and to make money, pretty much,
Are you still
without
seeing
kind
a
of
lot of that? Because I was saying, especially early on, I was seeing a lot of people being like, "Oh, this is Israel trying to have a proxy war with Russia."
no,
Uh,
I actually never saw that. No, I am seeing it now
Oh,
still.
oh wow,
Um,
yeah.
I'm seeing it now still, and of course the whole the whole conversation is so strange because there's a lot of good sides made all around, good points made on both sides all around. But one thing that I noticed that people don't talk about is the fact that there are still American hostages. Forget about
It's
like forget.
nobody cares,
For,
dude. Forget
I know,
forget that. There's
but
a
no one's. But uh, if you're trying to be all intellectual and put all the facts on the table, how can you not say? How can you not? How can you talk about this war and say this is Israel's problem? America should butt out when we have American hostages that are currently in Gaza.
because it's as simple as they're not trying to be intellectually honest. And I think that's the biggest thing that has become clear since October 7th is that we used to think that there were conversations to have there. Obviously not. I mean, it's been clear for a long time that like the leadership of the West Bank and Gaza are not in any way reasonable people and have zero interest in peace.
Or caring about their
Um,
people. No, but forget about peace or not. Like if you wanna, even if you wanna, like let's say we can agree to disagree about whether or not they should want peace or deserve peace or whatever it is, right? But what's best for their own people? Like they're not taking care. They're not taking care of their citizens. No, I've never heard that point responded to.
no,
I've
yeah,
never
no, but yeah, yeah.
I've never heard anyone.
Yeah,
I've heard people say, "Okay, well, good. Israel took their land, and you know what? What would you do?" And these are just people fighting back. And like, okay,
yeah,
maybe you want to make that point. Like, we could put everything aside and make that point. But you're
yeah,
not even helping. You're not even helping your people. Like,
yeah, yeah,
like there's no win over here. Like, what are
yeah.
you trying to accomplish?
I mean, even just looking at like what's going on now with the humanity, like I feel like every day almost you get a photo of like they tried smuggling ammunition in on the humanitarian aid trucks, and so like, and nobody ever responds to that. Nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever talks about the fact that before October 7th, even it was difficult for people in Gaza to get water because the ruling force of that area ripped out the water lines and turned them into missiles. Like,
Really?
yeah, where do you think they were getting where do you think Hamas was getting, well, rockets, I guess, not missiles. I forget the
Rockets, yeah.
distinction,
Well,
but
I thought,
yeah.
well, but and it could be naive and it could be whatever. I just thought that Hamas is the government, and when they get aid from everyone, Israel,
Yeah.
America, they get
Yeah.
from Europe, from Germany, yeah, from
I
everyone,
mean,
right?
not
Everyone.
so much anymore, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but they
Yeah.
were for
Yeah.
10, 15 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone's giving them money. I kind of just figured that's where a lot of this came from. Like they must have,
A lot of it, yeah.
yeah. There's a, they accumulated a massive amount of money that it doesn't make it I guess that's where it would have come from. But to hear, I didn't even know that they were ripping apart their own city to make
Yeah.
weapons.
Yeah. I mean, there's some amount of weapons that can be smuggled in through the terror tunnels.
Right.
But I think most of that money, honestly, didn't go towards militias or fighting or any of that. I think it most of it really just went into the pockets of these
Yeah. Right.
terrorists.
That's what it is. It's
Yeah,
crazy. It's
it's really
crazy.
wild. It's really wild. I mean, even and then like this conversations like, oh, maybe Israel will give over control of the West Bank to the Palestinian Authority. Like, I don't understand why people think that that would be significantly better. Like, yeah, obviously they're not terrorists on the same level of Hamas, but Abbas is not really any better than Sinwar in the way that he thinks and talks, and also steals from the people of the West Bank. Like, where do you think these people are becoming millionaires and billionaires from? And it's not something that is really discussed. And like,
Yeah,
especially,
it's a shame because I really because I'm willing. And I don't know why I feel like it's just me, but I feel like I'm really willing to like concede and talk about a lot of points that a lot of people that are pro-Israel in these conversations would even take. And like I would like the truth like I listened to a couple of people that I like their views on, let's say, domestic conversation and policy, but they're just vehemently anti-Israel, right? And like
yeah,
and it comes up pretty often. And like I hear a lot of the arguments that they're making. I don't know that I agree with all of them, but it's the kind of thing where like if you and I have a conversation and like we both like if we're arguing, it could be either because we are misunderstanding one another and like we're not using terms that the other ones are, the other person agrees or understands, or we understand exactly what we're saying, we just don't agree on what the most effective way to deal with it is, right? I feel like
yeah.
I feel like most of the like I can understand where they're coming from with a lot of their arguments, and I could agree or disagree with them, but I I've never I just it's so strange to me. You never hear about these conversations that aid money is being pocketed by leaders, that
Yeah.
that American hostages are on the ground, and maybe that's why America should be. It's crazy. What if this was Morocco? What if American hostages were taken Morocco? We'd have boots on the ground trying to help
For,
get them back, I imagine, right?
dude, forget that. If you want to go like a more apt analogy, it's one that I first heard Scott Galloway make. Imagine if Mexico, which I mean, you have to remember, like a big chunk of the United States was Mexico at some point, right? So like there are people in Mexico that feel that,
Really? I didn't even know
we
that.
stole that land. Yeah, and that we're occupying Mexican land. Like I don't think it'd be impossible to find Mexicans that feel that way about America. So now
Right.
imagine you had a religious contingent of people that felt that way, that took over the Mexican government, and then used all of those resources to build terror tunnels into Texas, went into Texas, and then we have to scale up to account for population size differences. So like if they went to like University of Texas, say, and slaughtered and killed 30,000 people and then kidnapped another like, 1,000 people into Mexico. Like what would happen? Mexico would not be around a week later. Like it's really it's crazy the double standards that people have. And then I mean it took me a really long time because you know that I used to have these conversations with people that either were like the um, academic elites that always think
Yeah,
that they're morally correct, or more importantly, with people that are of Palestinian descent and living in Jordan primarily. And
yeah.
it took me multiple years to like realize that the question that I needed to be asking was so much more simple than any of these like there were some really nuanced conversations to have that aren't being had, and I completely agree with that. But it took me a really long time to realize that the more important conversation to be having is so much more basic, which is that you will never find a single person that's going and doing all this free Palestine stuff that supports the right of Jewish people to self-determination. And so the conversation like hits kind of a dead end of like, how can you expect me to have a conversation about finding self-determination for this group of people, which
So
like
why can't
that,
but even let's say I'm playing the other side of the like let's say I'm arguing with you about this, right? I would say yeah,
yeah.
Jews are absolutely welcome to their own home, just not in a place where people live already, where people lived already or live,
So
you
that's a
know,
different
and
conversation.
like
And
that's
that's
it, and
the,
then like but like but then like that's a perfectly reasonable answer that leaves a
yeah,
lot of people stumped, you know.
yes. And that's what was crazy to me. That was the conversation that I was trying to have, not realizing that we weren't even there. That where the
Right.
conversation was no, not only that, but you don't deserve to have a home.
Right. And I think that would be the difference between someone that really doesn't like Jews and someone doesn't like the idea of Israel having taken over a land, colonized, whatever you want to call it. And
Yeah.
and you want to and you want to make a religious argument, you can make a religious argument. It's a really hard thing to do when you're dealing with people that aren't in your religion, you know. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
great, okay, now what, you know? But then but then yeah, you gotta just say like
Yeah.
to but if some but I think if some I haven't heard anyone say, you know, we're the Jew except for what's his name, except for the Martyr Made podcast, the one that
Yeah. Yeah.
Barrel
Yeah.
Cooper. You know,
Yeah.
he's the only one that I've heard be completely reasonable about all this. And the problem is that even though he's it's not even a problem. The problem for him is that he won't is that people will expect someone with that amount of information to take a side now, and he doesn't do that. You know,
Yeah.
he doesn't say
Yeah.
someone's right or wrong. He just says I understand where everyone's coming from, and you probably should try to also.
Yes, and I mean that's the place to start, and that's the part that tends to be skipped in these conversations on both sides, by the way. Like it's
Yeah,
yeah,
totally. Yeah,
yeah,
totally. There's so many
yeah,
because every time there are times where I try to have these conversations with people, other Jews and other obviously pro-Israel people, and they can't hear
yeah,
they can't hear anything from anything else other
yeah,
than yes, it's
yeah,
ours and we're here. You know,
yeah.
like
And
there's no
the
subtlety,
truth
there's no
is,
nuance, there's no nothing.
yes, it's very like manifest destiny, which I mean, to that point, if you want to go down the whole of like having a conversation of or the path of having a conversation of like, is it okay to establish a country in a place where there's already some level of people living.
Living there, yeah,
Now all of a sudden you have to tear down literally every single nation state in the entire world.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
if we're
yeah.
gonna go down that road, why are we starting with Israel? If we're gonna go down a road
Have there
of
been serious border changes and changes of leadership and statehood since 48?
in Israel?
No, in the world.
No, no, of course not. I mean, like, yes, in that like things consolidated. There was an era of things consolidating. So like another thing that's
Like,
not talked about is
yeah,
at the same time that Jews were like, okay, it's been enough. We want our own country. you had Southeast Asian Muslims because the Muslims don't have enough countries, right? So you had the Southeast Asian Muslims being like, no, we want our own countries. And they did the same thing with Pakistan and what then was, I think, South Pakistan and is now Bangladesh. Like, nobody's saying, let's give that back to India. There
Right,
are
right, right.
Indians
So
that
I was
feel
gonna
that way,
say, the only plausible argument that I could have made on the other in response to your point of yeah, we have to shake everything up is okay. Well, we'll start with the most recent ones. You know, the ones where people,
yeah,
you know, where
yeah.
people are sensibly still alive or like you know directly
Oh,
impacts the family. But like,
yeah.
if
I
there's
mean,
other
there's
places in the
constantly
world that it
border
happens
shifting.
too,
There's constantly
yeah,
border shifting. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. What do you think about what do you call it? Do you think the Russia-Ukraine war is going to be over soon?
Oh, good Lord. I mean, Trump says he's going to end it on day one, which obviously is hyperbole, but
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
Do you think that he'll be able to do it?
I don't know. I mean, to say what you will about the guy, and I think that it's less the ability of him and more the ability of those that he empowers.
Yeah,
There was
which is
definitely
a good
more
sign of a
peace
leader.
treaties being signed when he was president than when Biden was president. Like, there's no question there.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the world was
yeah, yeah.
definitely a more peaceful place when he was president, which is weird. And again, I don't think that is as much due to like he likes to frame himself
Take
as
credit.
a
Right, of course.
negotiator and
Well,
take credit.
everyone does, by the way. I mean, if
Yeah.
you think if it was another president that had, you know, that had this whole team working on it, and he just walked in the room and they shook hands and they called it a day, like he would
Yeah.
say, "I'm the best negotiator. I'm able to make this happen." You know.
Yeah, yeah. So my point is more, I don't want to give him too much credit because he'll go and take it anyway. But like,
Yeah.
will there be like some kind of Jared Kushner figure that's able to do the type of peace stuff that he did in the Middle East, but in Eastern Europe? I
It's
don't know.
actually
I mean,
interesting
it's
because
yeah.
I don't think he surrounded himself primarily with really, really good domestic people. You know, like people that, in my opinion, really good domestic people from both sides of the aisle. So I think that like, but you don't hear that like, you don't hear the big people that he's working with in foreign policy that are like known for ending wars and like putting things that, you know, like putting out fires. And it's curious. I wonder if that's
Mhm.
going to make a difference or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Only time will tell. There's so much pontificating about what's going to happen, and
Ah,
I
yes, I
think
love
that
to
was more
pontificate.
important leading up to election season, but at this point, none of us can do anything. And so I think I'm content with just sitting back and and watching.
Yes, yes, yes,
Uh,
yes, yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes. So anyway, so you
yeah.
went to Israel.
Yes.
You flew
So
from New York. How was your
flew from
flight?
New York.
The flight sucks, right?
It really wasn't bad at all. Took an edible halfway through, which was a great move. Got a
I
lot of
always
work
do
done
it
in
the
the first
first.
half. What?
Yeah, I said
Yeah.
I usually do it the first bit because once I'm sleeping, then I'm like usually okay.
I
So I
normally
usually knock me out
same.
initially.
If I have work to do or I want to do something somewhat productive, then I wait. So
Do you watch any
once I
movies?
was what?
Do you watch any movies on that flight?
Oh yeah, I think that was where we watched Deadpool and Wolverine, which solid 6.8 out of 10.
Okay. By the way, I think I
Yeah.
said that you were going to give it somewhere like that because I gave it like a
Yeah.
7.5, and I said
Yeah.
I'm only giving it 7.5 because I'm watching it in theaters with a whole bunch of people laughing.
That sounds better. I mean, it's kind of a shame. The first half of the movie, the entire first act was phenomenal. Second act started off strong, but then it kind of fell apart. They really got to get rid of this TVA stuff. They did
Yeah,
well with it in the beginning, but then that was just the whole movie, and that I didn't like.
right, right. I
Yeah.
um, I I think that we're gonna get some. I don't know, man. Did you watch The Penguin yet?
No, I need to.
I don't know what. Oh man, I'm trying to figure out how to say this
Yeah.
nicely. I don't know. I don't know how. Okay, Marvel did a really good job. It's the same problem that Hollywood always has. Marvel did a really good job at being unique for a couple of movies, and then they turned the thing that made them unique and made it into a factory. And so
Yes, that
the
is what
problem is that
happens.
it got boring, and like even though the writing is good, and even though you know it's funny and it's witty and like it has that Marvel brand all over it, you almost like too much of a good thing. I think you could get sick of. You
I
know,
want something as
that's
unique as the first Iron Man movie was. Like, yeah,
yeah, or
yeah,
even the first Guardians. Remember, the first
yeah,
Guardians
yeah,
movie made waves because it was like
yeah,
the combination of pop culture and music and edgy, edgy writing and
yeah,
edgy comedy, and like
yeah.
they just like and they were so human that like it was fun, you know.
That
Um,
was when they lost the mainstream. Like that was the last Marvel movie that Sam Chosak ever watched, and I think there's a lot of people like that. Yeah.
I but I watched, but Rocco and I went to see Venom 3 this week as part of our anniversary date day,
Crazy
and
that there's three.
it's crazy there's three. The truth is that I have a lot of thoughts about them. I kind of like them for what they are, which I think is fun. This was probably the worst of the three. Um,
Yeah.
but the other thing I noticed was it's funny because Sony hasn't done this well. They're not doing a good job at this, but they're doing a good job changing up the genres of not having just one style, perspective and character, and even genre in terms of like thriller or comedy or action. And like what's it called? Morbius was supposed to be,
Oh,
if that movie was
Morbius.
good, if that movie was good, then that movie would have been awesome because it turned a Marvel genre into like which is just superheroes and big screen action into something more thriller horror. And like they could have expanded into there in a really cool way, you know? And they're doing that
Yeah.
I saw the trailer for Craven the Hunter, which kind of looks terrible, but again, like it looks like it's going to be like a little bit more of a gory, rated R thriller that's Marvel content
Yeah.
that if they manage to pull it off, will be good because it'll be just fresh. It'll be something different than like the self-aware humor and the crack, the one line cracks and stuff like that.
Right. How many sassy characters can you have in a universe? But at the same time, it feels like that's being replaced with probably largely because The Boys was so popular. With just the gratuitous violence, which really bothers me. Like
Wait, which
I
which
have
which one has? Oh, like Deadpool, you mean?
well, so Deadpool doesn't bother me because that's part of the character. If you ever read any of the comics, like that's very true to who the character is. Um, and so the way that they do it, it's like it's comical. It's not. It doesn't bother me. But then you go to something like The Boys or
Oh yeah,
like the second um, Suicide Squad movie. Like I had to turn those off so quickly, and they left me nauseated. Like
yeah.
I
But you
have
have a
trouble.
strong stomach for this stuff.
I don't, but it's weird because for some things I do, like Tarantino movies, love them, no problem with them.
Yeah.
The Deadpool movies, like the third one was definitely a little bit more gory than the other ones, but it didn't really bother me so badly. Um, but then you go to something like where it seems like it's more if it's something where they're really trying to rub your face in it and be gory for the sake of being gory, not in any way that like adds to the storytelling in any kind
I
of
think
way.
Daredevil is going to be like that, by the way. Apparently, it's going
Uh,
to be a hard R that keeps true to the Netflix version of it.
so yeah, so I mean that's another good example. Not Deadpool, sorry, Daredevil and Punisher.
Punisher.
Those also
Punisher was
didn't bother
gory
me,
as hell, dude.
but it didn't
That
bother me.
the Punisher
Yeah.
there were certain moments where it did, where like to me it got there,
Oh,
but
like that, yeah. When I say bother me, I mean like I have to turn this thing off. I'm not watching it
oh
anymore, and I'm gonna
yes,
be nauseous
yes,
for the
yes,
rest of the day. That's
yes,
what I
yes, yes,
mean.
yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
so dramatic.
yeah. Listen, if I'm one thing, I'm dramatic.
Yes, yes,
Um,
certainly.
but so anyway, yeah, no, the flight was incredible. Or well, the flight was good. We get on the flight and it's El Al, so every single person on this flight is probably Jewish, because also who the hell else is going to Israel at this time?
Right.
Um, which by the way, the every time I mention we have different approaches to it. Rachel says we went to the Middle East, and then based on how people respond to that, we'll say we went to Israel. I just launched right into saying, "Oh yeah, I was in Israel," and
Yeah,
the responses that we get from people is so fascinating. It's been consistently, um, whether it's from like random people that we met in Italy or from like people that I work with,
yeah,
um, it's like an awe and curiosity more than anything else, and it's
Yeah, dude.
very, it's yeah.
If someone told me I was just in Ukraine a couple of months, like last week, I'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing in Ukraine?"
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
So I hear that.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, like, no, it's funny. Like, like we did. We'll get there. But it's so we're on the. It's so funny. Um, the level of obnoxiousness of everybody on this flight. Like, there's this guy standing in the aisle while his 8 kids are like crying because they all want to sit in the window seat, and he's just standing there in the aisle for 45 minutes while people are trying to get on the plane and go around him, fucking vaping. It takes literally
He
half
was
an hour
vaping.
before he was standing there in the aisle vaping, like the number one thing you're not supposed to do on an airplane. It literally took half an hour before a pissed off flight attendant came over and was like, "You need to sit down." Like it took so long. And then he was also throughout the flight he was doing this. And then the people next to us, like people are like standing up and like going on top of each other, and like people are like inflating mattresses for their children, and like it's just
Yeah,
it's
but dude,
such a
you know what?
unique.
I have no idea how people do it. I have no idea how parents take I could not travel with Shua, with just Shua, on
Yeah,
12 hours to Israel.
yeah,
I have no idea how people bring a family of seven for on a 12-hour flight. Like, I
it's
don't know what,
crazy.
I feel terrible
Yeah.
for them
I mean,
and
it's
everyone else
listen, it's
around them.
impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
so
Um,
yeah.
we only saw one guy who was refusing to sit where he was supposed to sit because it was next to a woman. So
Ah,
that was a win.
that's good. But
Yeah.
if you think about the percentage, if you think about statistics, that makes it one out of every couple hundred, dude.
No, yeah, it's not, you know. Oh, well, it was very, so we happened to be sitting next to this very nice older couple while we were waiting to get on the plane. So we started talking to them, and it was Rabbi Goldfisher's parents.
No way, really?
Yeah, it's so funny.
Okay. I have to.
Uh,
My mama always said, if you have nothing nice to say,
I mean, I didn't. Did you ever have him as a teacher?
yeah, I did.
So I didn't. My only interactions with him were like during Sharia, so I only had nice things to say.
It's so
Um,
interesting. He's someone. It's so fascinating. I don't know what the deal is, or what causes it, whether it's personality or shot or whatever. But he's so good in front of a crowd, and
yeah,
he's so bad one on one. Like, he's
I thought he was
so
fine
bad.
one on one, but not as a teacher. I could see him being a little bit too dissy as a teacher.
I don't know, dude. I
Yeah,
think that his best moments was when he was running events, and he had 500 kids, roaring with
yeah.
enthusiasm at whatever he was doing. Like, that was when he was at his best for sure. And like, there's a lot
I
of people
mean,
that aren't good at
yeah.
that,
Well,
you know.
same with
Yeah,
Rabbi Senior. Same with Rabbi Senior.
yeah,
So yeah, but anyway, I mean, his parents are very nice. Like his
that's good.
mom, yeah, like we're his mom is very into, like, she goes to the gym like 6 days a week, like really important to her to stay physically mobile.
Uh-huh.
Because I mean, we know what grandparents can tend to look like. Um
Yeah, so sad.
so like she and Rachel are stretching together. It was funny. Then on the plane, she like Rachel's back was hurting and we didn't have any Advil with us, so she gave us Advil. Like, yeah, it was super nice. So it was a funny experience. And then, so that's already a like, you feel for better or for worse, like you're with your people, just being on a plane full of other
Them.
Jews. And
Yeah.
then you get off the plane, and I mean, you know what that experience is like walking into Ben Gurion. It's like such a like a warm welcome walking down that
Yeah, the ramp
hallway.
area. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then even more so now because you get off and everywhere you look, there's like bring them home, like posters for each hostage and like stuff about each hostage, like just really driving home like you're home now, you're with people that I mean, so it's just so that was very nice. And then that continued to be our experience for the entire trip.
Can I ask you a
Um
question?
yeah.
How do you how can you tell how do you think you can tell the difference, like, on a serious level, just about anything, between propaganda and like actual pride, or like authenticity?
I think the first step is to recognize that literally everything is propaganda. Um, there's just
I
some
know, but
proper.
propaganda has like a level of intentionality to try to manipulate, I feel like.
I don't
But
think that's true. I mean, everything is
I don't know. I don't know
manipulative
what the
at some
definition.
level.
What's the definition of propaganda?
I will look it up. I will look it up.
Because, like,
Propaganda.
for example, like if I do like if I see someone doing something out of enthusiasm, I feel very like I feel invested and connected and like a part of it, right? Whether it's a musician, whether it's a concert, whether it's a sport, whether it's a movie, whether it's whatever it is, and then there are times where you know that like whatever you're consuming is really just like propaganda, and you really feel very and like you feel just as strongly about it. But I think one is coming from a place of just being authentically, passionate, and one of it comes from a place of we're going to try to convince people of something.
Um, yeah, that's true. So I think that the biggest thing is like not having propaganda be the primary mechanism through which you learn about something. And
Wait, but how do you know?
so I think you treat everything like propaganda. Like obviously there's good stuff that's going to be. I just looked at the definition. You're right. It's specifically referring to things that are meant to be biased and misleading and like supposed to convince you something. Although when
Right.
you use that definition, like you can really attribute most things to that. There is no such thing
I know.
as something not biased. And so
Well,
I
no,
think,
but let's say for example, I'm sorry. Let's say for example, I hear music like there's a musician, and I feel extremely connected to that musician for whatever reason. Or America. He sings about America, right? And that's it's his experience, but he helped me. Oh, he's not
yeah,
trying to propagandize me,
it doesn't
right? Like he
have to
doesn't
be
have the
intentional.
intention.
It doesn't have to
Uh,
be intentional. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be intentional. Um, so you treat everything that way. And so, as with anything, I think you just, try to take in information and what people are saying from different types of backgrounds and viewpoints, and then add in your own, and you can kind of synthesize that all together. I think the problem is when you only ever get your information from one place. Like the amount of people in like polling that their primary source of news isn't Twitter, it's Elon's Twitter, is like just crazy to me. Um, so like staying away from that kind of thing. And then like you're able to then
I don't know if
like
I
it's
agree with
important.
that. By the way, I don't. I mean, I think that Twitter has been a far more. I mean, it's been a far more. You could probably find more
Oh,
objective
sorry,
news on
sorry.
Twitter.
Sorry. When I say Elon's Twitter, I don't mean X. I don't mean the Twitter belonging to Elon. I mean specifically his Twitter thread.
Oh. Yes, of course, because his Twitter
Yes.
account is obviously biased to whatever he wants to push.
Exactly. As is the case
I'm
with
sorry. I'm
any.
sorry. When
Yeah.
you said Elon's Twitter, I thought you meant Twitter under the ownership of Elon.
Yes, 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 yes. Which I think has, I mean, different conversation about whether that's been better or worse than before his ownership, and I honestly haven't made up my mind on that. I think it's
Well,
more the
it's not done
same than
yet.
it is different, regardless of what people will try to tell you. Um,
Well, I don't know. I never had it before.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, there's definitely the lack of the democratization of blue checks. I understand why he wanted to do that for another income stream, and then Facebook and everybody did the same thing.
Yeah.
But that's been the biggest erosion. But at the same time, I understand the argument for like having some um like somebody was deciding who was allowed to have a louder voice on Twitter, and that wasn't great either. But anyway, um
It's a bit. It's a huge deal.
yeah. So like that's not perfect either. Um, um yeah,
Because then it just
so I
becomes a
mean
news station. I mean, that's essentially what a news station is now.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
So funny.
Um
Yeah,
so yeah, so I mean yeah, so
regarding the propaganda. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, that stuff doesn't really feel like propaganda to me. Like, if you feel that caring about innocent hostages is propaganda, like that's a
No, of
separate
course, of course,
conversation.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
No, but like, but the difference between the difference between. a government putting something up and a mother of a hostage putting something up is
It didn't. Yeah,
vastly is vast to me. Like it's such a huge difference, you know?
yeah, for sure. That's part of what was so nice about it is a lot of this stuff
Is
feels
homemade.
like, yes, it is homemade, whether it's like these giant graffitis in Tel Aviv saying like, bring them home now, or like
Yeah,
with the names of people that were killed. Like it all feels very homemade and well done. And it's also
it's really
incredible to
beautiful.
see like these like they're taking up like huge, like 10, 20 foot wide walls, and there's not a single piece of anything that anybody has done on top of it. And like so like just having that kind of stuff, like being able to walk around and not having to like double take whenever you see some kind of pattern that looks like a kafia, or whenever you see a sticker, having to look at this and say like, is this going to tell me that I should go die? Like,
Yeah, but for sure, for sure. But in Israel,
mm.
you're never not checking over your shoulder.
For different reasons though.
Yeah, sure. But you're
It's
never not looking
it's
over your shoulder, dude. Like you're in the thick of it. You're in the thick of it.
yeah, yeah. It's very different though from like walking, or like that's true anywhere that you go.
Do you think you're more inclined to get attacked as a Jew in New York or get attacked as a Jew in Israel? Like through
It's
some kind of, you know?
The attack is coming from different places. It feels in a lot of ways like it is more likely in New York, especially if you're identifying as one. So the question is
So you walk
more,
around New York with a kippah on, and
yes,
you
and
think
that
it's
I
more
that I will not
likely
do.
that you get attacked. It's more like, well, you don't ever do.
Yeah, no, well, I mean that's part of it. I did a little bit in Israel,
Oh yeah,
especially on Chag. Yeah,
that's nice.
yeah, but
For whatever it's worth. But right. So you think that it's more likely that if I'm wearing kippah in New York and I'm walking around Israel, that it's more likely I get attacked by someone in New York than someone that's some Arab that's upset at anyone living in Israel. You know?
yes. And the other difference is what happens once you are attacked. So, like, if you're wearing a kippah and some random schmuck walks up to you in New York and pulls a gun on you or punches you in the face or whatever, it's like that's anecdotal, but it's things that are happening.
Mhm.
Everybody else just goes about their lives and walks around. You like you could be lying in the street bleeding. Like there was like that older Jewish man in Brooklyn a while back, right? Like
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
these
right.
things happen all the time, and people just walk around him and just let him bleed on the street. Versus in Israel, whenever anything happens, like
Where
it's
there's a
the
concerted, organized, quick effort to help out.
exactly. Like we all
That's such an
know,
interesting point. I never thought of that.
yeah. And so like part of living in the modern world, which I also found myself reminding myself as we're like learning more about like a big part of this trip, especially going to Jerusalem and then to Rome, was learning about history. The
Hmm.
idea that you can walk around and have reasonable certainty that you're going to make it through the day without just some like random act of violence killing you is extremely modern.
Right.
Um, and so I feel like that's less something that can be avoided. What is much nicer is the way that the community around you responds. So like what I mean is that I think it's just part of life. Less now than ever before, which definitely has to be recognized, but definitely is still a part of life that no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, you're never 100% safe. There's always some type of threat, and it's important to always stay vigilant in that way. Um, that is less mutable than the way that we as a society respond to it. And that is drastically different in Israel versus anywhere else.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so interesting you say that. So there's this great book I read called The Anxious Generation, which I don't know if I've told you about or brought up
Jonathan
to you,
Haidt, of
but
course, of course.
yeah, yeah. I think it's one of the most important books written in the last 50 years. Just
Yeah.
like for a functioning human to like for any person to pick up that book and read that book, they can walk away very much more educated in something
Yeah.
they may not have ever thought about, and like with tangible steps to like or like tangible ways to do something about it. I think it's
Feels also
incredible. But one,
very.
yeah,
I mean, I haven't read it. I just listened to him talk about it a lot, but it feels like something that really should be required reading, if for nobody else, then for any new parent.
yes, 1,000%, a
Yeah.
thousand percent, or every or any teacher, anyone really. I mean,
Yeah. Anybody
so
dealing with anybody young.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Or even
Yeah.
dealing with themselves, because a lot of this is we're all part of it. We're pretty much part of this generation too. Like I know what's happening to me when I'm addicted to Twitter, and I do things about it. I try, I do things about it for sure.
Yeah.
But
I
one
mean,
of the
that's
things that he
definitely
was
true,
talking,
but I also kind of feel like people our age, if you're dealing with this stuff, it's depending how far gone you are, it's probably a little bit too late. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
I hope not.
I think for a lot of people it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, it's a shame. But one of the things that he was talking about, and I'm sure you remember, I'm sure you had this experience growing up, was the feeling that other adult, like that adults were generally there to help take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you trusted adults as like responsible authorities that are there that are there to help, kind of, right? So like if you're
Right.
lost in the supermarket, or you're in the zoo and you lose your mom or your dad, you can say to adults, "Excuse me, I lost my parent. I'm sorry, I lost my parents."
Yeah.
Right? And the
Yeah.
adults would help you find your mom, right?
Yeah.
Do you have your mom's number? Do you know her name? You know what she
Yeah.
do? Today's world, and John, that's what this is one of the things he talks about. I don't remember how he. I don't know whether it was based on survey statistics or just whatever, but
I think all of the above. But yeah.
yeah, but he says
Yeah.
people don't trust other adults anymore,
Yeah.
um, at
Yeah.
all, And so like if someone sees someone else, even someone that looks lost or hurt, the fact that they could potentially be a threat, or that they can encounter a threat in while dealing with it, makes us more hesitant to engage with anyone around us, like any other stranger. So like, the way that
Yeah.
he put it in the context of a family was like, and I had this growing, and I guess, and a lot of, I mean, a lot of, I think it's an enormous benefit of being in part of an Orthodox community, is, I go to shul, I go to shul every week, and there's 25, 30 families, so 25,
Yeah.
30 adults that, like, I know that if I had to run out if I had to run out for a couple of minutes, or if my kid fell or got into a fight with someone, like, these are
Yeah.
adults that I trust that I trust to help, to help be my eyes also. And so,
Yeah.
so the consequence is I'm more relaxed. My, Shula gets more time and space and freedom to play, which is extremely
Yeah.
important for his development.
Yeah.
And he builds up his own confidence that he's able to make his way through dealing with people, meeting people, and without looking over and seeing his dad just standing over him, which is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And then the fact that we could trust one another, and that, like, you're not alone in it. But if I'm walking in
Yeah.
the street and he runs away, and like there's another adult, I'd be a little freaked out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'd be a little nervous, and
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly has changed and how it changed, but it's crazy. It's really interesting.
Oh, it's not like that everywhere.
Right, but
Like,
so Israel doesn't have that. It feels like that's what I meant to
yes.
say. That's the whole point of it. That in
Yes.
Israel,
Yes.
so when we experience it, I think it's more of an American experience for whatever reason. I don't
No, it's
know.
more, I think it's
Um,
more, I mean, definitely between the two, yeah. I think it's more just if you have a place where, like, everybody is of a similar background, everybody is not that many, like, it's a much smaller community where, like, I mean, if you're in Israel, you pick any random person, um, guarantee that you're at most like three stages removed from people that you know.
yeah.
Where in most other countries, as factors of immigration, of homelessness, of just there being much more variety of people, like you have no idea where anybody else is coming from. You don't know anything about them. You don't
It's so
know,
interesting. It's
yeah,
so interesting.
you just there's no social trust. So that's also like a modern idea, this modern structure of having a really true diversity of people in a given, I mean, even city, let alone country, is extremely modern. and in a lot of ways is turning out to be a little bit of a failed experiment as a free-for-all. Like we have not figured
Do
out.
you think it's because people are meant to be because we've evolved to be to be tribal for for so long that like we just can't get rid of that aspect of us, like this
I think
distrust
that's
of people outside of our tribe?
I think yeah, I think that is part of it. I think that they're like you can only look out for so many people at once.
Right.
And so you're always, if you're in a place where everybody's different, you're going to look out for your small group of people and say fuck it for everybody else.
Right.
That's one part of it. Um, the other is that it's a little bit of a free for all. So like when there's as much crime as there is, when there's, I mean, like look at Amsterdam. There were literally a pogrom, and the police were blaming the victims of the pogrom. And I
Yeah.
mean that's
I
similar
didn't know
to.
anything about that, by the way. What happened with that?
I don't really know. I haven't um really dived into it so
Dove?
much.
Dived? I don't
A
know.
lot of people are like trying to blame the what they're calling the soccer hooligans, the people that were watching the match for Maccabi.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I totally forgot that
but
Europe is so chill when it comes to watching soccer. Yeah,
that,
no,
and
no.
also like they were in secret with like planning like, hey, after the soccer game, we're gonna go hunt some Jews. Like
Right.
you can't then turn around and say, oh well, the Jews were acting rambunctious. Like no, you were planning for days to go and do this already. So
Yeah.
I think it was also mostly Arabs
I
that were
don't know.
doing this. The amount of Arab and
So
Muslim
they weren't
Muslim
Amsterdam
immigration.
natives, you don't think?
They weren't Dutch. No, I don't think so.
Dutch.
Yes,
Dutch people are in
yes.
Amsterdam. Where else are
Um,
Dutch? Was it Dutch in
uh,
Amsterdam?
Holland, Holland, the Netherlands, they're
Holland and
Dutch.
Amsterdam.
Well, Amsterdam is in Holland.
Ah, right.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
gonna pretend like I knew that. I had no idea.
Well, it
I
gets
thought
very
Amsterdam was a
confusing.
country.
No, Amsterdam is a city in, you can either call it Holland or the more modern name is the Netherlands. It's the same thing.
Oh, I've heard of the Netherlands.
Yes, and people in the Netherlands or in Holland are Dutch.
But
And the
there's no
language is
Dutchland.
also Dutch. What?
There's no Dutchland though.
There's no Deutschland is Germany. So it's all confusing.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. But no, I think it was mostly immigrants, really. And so I think, I mean, that's been a rising problem in Europe in general, is the civil di disobedience of um, immigrants. Um,
It's so interesting 'cause I've been hearing about it for years now, and
yeah,
I mean, you have to either wonder, is it not as big of a deal as everyone's saying, or is it all going to culminate eventually, and like that's what we're just like waiting for.
oh, it's going to culminate, I think, is that's what I'm trying to get at. I think that, I mean, especially in the United States, we remember the Muslim ban that Trump tried to do when he first got in office. I think that um, we are lying to ourselves if we don't think that he's going to try to do something similar again.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
well, yeah, but you know what? It's going to be expanded beyond Muslim because a
Yes.
lot of the problem like
Yes.
is yeah. I mean, there's so many different people that are coming in from from so many places that are really not very fond of America
Yeah. Yeah.
by any stretch of the imagination, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It's
Mm. So it's not going to be limited to Muslims. I don't think it'll be. I think it's just going to be. I think it could. Like
yeah.
I think there's enough people that it could be considered like a sweeping. It's just like a sweeping immigration, policy, as opposed to
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, just generally, we need like actual law enforcement in this country. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some kind of, I forget the details. There's some kind of, if you hear that?
is that a dog? Yeah, what the
That
heck
is
is going
Blue.
on?
Is freaking hacking up a lung. She does this in the middle of the night sometimes, by the way, and it's very annoying.
I can
And then
imagine.
sometimes things come out, and that's even more annoying.
That's why I don't want a dog, dude.
Are you kidding me? Human children do the same thing. Effie.
Yeah, but for like 2 years, and and then you train them to stop.
Yes, that's true. Rachel says hello.
Hi,
And
Rachel.
Mazel
Tell her to
Tov.
join. Thank you.
Do you want to join? Yeah, we're recording a podcast. Yes, he said never mind.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Uh,
which is nice to know. Um, yeah,
I
I'm
heard her
pretty sure.
voice get further away as it went on.
Well, we share an office, but I think it's I'm pretty sure it's um a rule, a requirement, a contingency, whatever it is, of being on a visa in America that you're not allowed to participate in social unrest. So, like, you're not allowed to protest if you're here on a visa, and that's not something that is enforced, except
That's
for
so
like,
interesting.
yeah, I could be wrong, but there's something to that,
I
and
mean, I
so.
hear that.
Right. And so that what that means then, and that's how it should be. Like that seems like a very reasonable thing to do. You can't just get a student visa to a country and then start marching in the streets and like,
Demanding change in a place that you're
yeah,
not. Yeah, okay.
right, exactly. At best case scenario, and often these things turn violent.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so I like they wouldn't even we don't even need to write new legislation. We just have to enforce the legislation that's there. Like that's the craziest part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I hope it happens. Um, I hope it happens. You know,
Yeah.
I really do because I think about this a lot in general. Like you need both. You need to be liberal and you need to be conservative, and you just have to figure out when to do what and what application to apply it to. Like
Yeah.
I really think it's just what it is. And I think that all you have to do is just be nuanced. And all you have to do is say, is this something that's worth being liberal about? And is this something worth being conservative about? And like, that's all you got to do, you know? And
Yeah.
like, there's plenty of things where like, if you can't come up with a good argument other than no, because we haven't until now, you know, like that's not a good argument. I'm probably going to say go more liberal on that, you know? But
Yeah.
if it's something like there's tangible evidence to it being harmful to you and the people around you and whoever, then you know, okay, well that we tried that didn't work, you know, let's move on. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why I don't know why people aren't more thoughtful in terms of like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a little reductive, but I think people just aren't terribly thoughtful in general on a high level.
You know, I was talking to someone that one of my cousins actually, and I asked him the last time that he changed his mind on like a stance he had politically, and he said when he was in college, and he's
What?
31. And I'm like,
That's
you
good
didn't change your
self-awareness, though.
mind, and like, well, he had to think about it. He had to think about it the last time we did that. And
Yeah.
he was like, you know, I was like, you didn't change your mind. Like nothing in your like, not, I feel like you have to. If anything in your life ever changes, then your understanding of the way the world works should change with it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
like I could feel like I
yeah.
get like talk about the flight to Israel, right? Like when I was single, I never thought about from the parents' position how difficult it is, you
Yeah.
know, and like and I
Yeah.
would have been like, listen, ban them, ban you know, ban kids on airplanes, you know, and that, and like that would
Yeah.
have been my opinion, and like I would have been like, listen, I this is my opinion. I've had bad experiences with it, and then I have a kid. I'm like, well, I have to get from point A to point B, and I'm not driving across the country.
No, and
So
he's
I'm like,
going to cry. He's a
oh,
baby.
well, and then I look around. I'm like, well, what are you judging me for, douchebag? You don't have a
Yeah.
kid. Like, so like,
No, it's true.
I feel like your opinion should change. Like, you know, just
Yeah.
even if you're progressing in life at all, your opinion should change.
Yeah. We build what are they called? We build heuristics. Like that's true with everything. Can you feel tangibly, like, can you list the last time you had something like that that changed, though? Because I'm positive that my um, opinions on things are constantly evolving and not set in stone. But like, I don't think I can sit here and like say like, oh yes, here's a political thing that I changed recently. Like, I don't think I'm that intentional. I think I just tend to be a little bit non-committal with like identifying with given things. Other than obviously like I'm not going to decide one day that we should ban abortion, like things like
Right,
that.
right,
Um,
right.
but like I feel like otherwise I'm pretty fluid and just kind of like you don't have to make up every decision that you're going to ever have to make, and most political opinions that we hold aren't ones that we will ever need to actually hold or enforce in any way.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So I wonder why we have a hard time changing it then. Like we have to think there's
Because
some
it's
value
easy
to
to.
it.
We're lazy. It's the way our minds work. Like politics is,
Yeah, our minds don't want to work unless they absolutely have to. Unless
yeah.
you're aware of that.
Yeah, like it all comes back to like hunter-gatherer. Like you didn't need to constantly evaluate which animals were dangerous to be around.
We did not have to. Of course we did. What do you mean?
No, like you learn an animal's dangerous, then you steer clear of that animal. You don't have to change your mind on it. You don't learn one day,
Oh,
oh, lion's dangerous. Oh, the next day, oh, let me go pet it
oh,
for anything.
oh.
Like,
I've heard.
yeah,
I've heard that in terms of learning, and I think that changing your mind is also part of learning. Um, I heard that in terms of learning, that the reason why people after like let's say from college age and on generally
mm,
don't learn as much or change or develop or change their minds is because evolutionarily, the most important years to learn were the years that until you became a fully mature adult.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, your
and then
brain
once you did,
also.
and then once you
Mm,
did, and you had your own, and then you had your own kid, then your responsibility now is not to learn new things, but to enforce what you already know to help your kid survive.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so even evolutionarily, like it makes sense that
yeah,
like it's harder for adults to change their minds.
yeah. That makes sense to me. And I mean, I think it's more than that. I think you can explain it biologically also, in that like our brains are developing until about that age, depending on your gender. And once you're like our brains are less elastic as we get older, and our our ability to form new neural pathways diminishes. And
Until you take psychedelics, or until you
yeah,
there's actually you know what else, by the way, I just read this twice. I read this about both these things. Listening to music that you don't know, and like music that you're not familiar with, because your brain preps itself to recognize a pattern, and then it's not there, and so it forces your brain to to kind of look to start working to look for what the pattern is and how to recognize it in the future,
yeah,
and then meandering and driving or walking down a route that you don't use, like from, let's say you're going from point A to point B and you usually take route X, walk down route Y instead,
oh yeah,
and it could get you to the same place, but it keeps your neural pathways open because it's totally new.
yeah.
It's new surroundings.
This is why taking breaks from thing like stepping away from a problem or taking vacation for work, like that's why all of these things are important also. That's yeah, that's totally true.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, yeah. I was just talking to when I came back. I was talking to one of the managers I work with, and I forget what his example was, but he was saying how, some recent vacation that he took, he came back and he realized like someone inspired by an experience he had on his vacation. He like had this new idea of how to do something that we were working on, or something like that. So he was like, as we go into things, let your mind kind of like wander and see if you have anything like that. Which I
Yeah,
haven't yet, because I feel like a lot
I
of
was
stuff
talking to a
is,
friend of
yeah,
mine
yeah,
who's in med school,
yeah,
and he's taking these boards, and he was telling me how he was cramming, and he had to, and he was trying, and he was like, and there's so much material that by the time I get to the end, I forgot what I learned at first,
yeah.
right? Which happened a lot, right? And apparently, according to Huberman's buddy, forgot his name, Dr. Walker, I forgot, I think his name is Andrew, but I'm not sure.
Mhm.
That cramming and not sleeping, you first of all, aside from minimizing your ability to learn, if whatever you do learn is is only remembered in the short term,
Yeah, yeah,
and you need like significant sleep between learning periods for it to become etched into your brain and stay as long term memories or associations.
yeah,
And so the system that like we're like our doctors are going through schooling in such a way that is least conducive to
yeah.
them maintaining their knowledge in the future on anything that they've learned, which is
It's really
crazy.
crazy. It's what I mean, what makes it crazier is, yeah, I mean, it's not even like this one guy that's saying that. It's like a very large body of evidence and accepted fact that like what you're saying, and then also there's a known drop off of how much you can learn at once. I think it's like 45 minutes or something of studying, and then once you get past that, you're not learning anymore. And that like that's really not a long time at all. And all classical education, not just medical school, is based on that. And like, I mean, you could go through like how education developed to be the way that it is, and that's where there's this educational, I don't know, researcher or what. He's Sir Ken Robinson. Um, and he did
Is
a
he's a
while
sir?
ago. He's a sir. He's a lord.
Ah, wonderful.
He did forever ago. He did a TED talk, and he's written books and stuff about this kind of thing. And that body of work, I think there was one specific talk that kind of woke up Mrs. Wiener to that whole idea, and that's
Mm,
why she started off on that whole idea school journey. It's
right.
like it's crazy. Um, yeah, let me. There's a great quote from him. Let me find it.
Uh, no, I don't think it does. It just may cause it to crash. Stupid app. Dewey? No way, really? That's a yeah. Well, of course not, because it just directly attacks them. Okay, so long. So this is episode one of tonight. I'll be recording with Andrew Weintraub, buddy of mine from college. Just after Ari gets back. Hello. Ah, excellent. Are we counting
Nice.
down?
It stopped counting down, so now we're back. Woohoo!
Awesome. Okay, hello.
Um,
Yes.
yeah. So like, yeah, yeah. Anyway. That yeah, that's not news. And I also like I mean I learned about that stuff, I remember in AP Psych in high school. But then when I got to college, which was the first time that I ever had to like really study and learn in that way, I learned it pretty viscerally. It took me a few years to realize that if I went to sleep at a normal time and got like a healthy amount of sleep the night before a test, instead of
Cramming.
focusing on, yeah, instead of cramming, yeah, that I would always and reliably do significantly better than if I tried to instead focus on learning everything.
Right. Right. I
Yeah,
believe
like
that.
literally every time. Yeah, it's yeah. But still, for whatever reason, people
But
don't
it's not even
acknowledge
before a
this.
test. It's even when you get information, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
like yeah, I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah,
This
yeah,
it's so interesting. I really
yeah,
do you think it'd be better? Do you think it'd be better to be structured that kids that schools would be almost like universities, like high school, like public high schools, would be like universities where kids live there, and then they could have a healthy agenda, a healthy like what we now know to be the most educationally beneficial way of life, right? So like you wake up and you have like let's say two or three classes, and then you have an hour and a half break, where you can opt to nap or read or play sports or do whatever. Then you have another two classes, and you have another hour break, and then like you have dinner and
yeah.
exercise and like whatever, and then you go to bed and you got 7 hours. Like I think that like if
Mhm.
you kind of switched, and I don't think it's possible. If you opened a school, I'm sure that the school would do remarkably well because you're allowing people to grow. Like I think the biggest problem is that like once you get kids in like once they're in school, you're not getting them back in school again that day once they leave. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but you can't. But no one could really learn from 8 a.m. to 2, 3, 4 o'clock straight anyway. So
No. No.
like, what are we doing? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's forget like these arbitrary ways that we structure school and trying to shift from one to the other. The I think more productive shift is to making education look more like real life. Um,
Ah,
so
yes, that too.
so rather than doing these assessments and everything, like all of this structure of lectures and all of that comes from two things. One is um, like meat factories, right? Like that's why we grade things. Like you grade meat. You don't grade people, but apparently we grade people. Like grade A meat, that's a thing. That's where that comes from.
Right.
Um,
Oh, that's so interesting. Is that where it comes from?
yeah,
You just
and
make that up.
the
Is that a
no,
fact?
no, that's a fact.
Okay.
It sounds made up though because it's stupid, but that's where it comes from. Like we grade things that come out of factories. That's where. And the structure of a lecture hall comes from before we had printing presses, where the primary purpose of these things was for somebody to stand in the front and read a book, and for everybody else to copy that book down so that they would also have the copy of the book. And then you would go and you would tape that and you would study it. And we don't need that anymore because we have so many other ways of disseminating information. So
Right.
like the entire structure of a lecture hall is broken. So like you kind of
That's
have
so
to
interesting.
throw,
But it's kind of
yeah,
cool. They're
and
always
it's
cool. Like the
yeah,
big ones that could fit like, 400 or 500 students in a lecture hall. Like those are cool. It's a cool environment to be in.
yes, but nobody's learning in it.
Yeah, that's true.
I had a grand total of one teacher who I felt made good use of the lecture hall, and it was because it was very cool. There's this building at Rutgers. I forget what it's called, but it's unique, and it was specifically built to be a physics lecture hall. So rather than the more traditional shape of a lecture hall where you go really far back, it's like stadium seating. So everybody is reasonably close to the middle of the room. And then it's built with all of this stuff to help the professor do hands-on physics demonstrations. It's very, very cool. And so that was the only setting where I felt that that made sense, is like if you're getting up in front of a classroom and like showing people things, that makes sense. Standing up in
Yeah.
front of a classroom, like I, on the other end of the spectrum, I had a teacher when I took I don't even remember one of the calculuses, who he would start off the class in silence for 25 minutes, basically writing out whatever he wanted to teach that day on the very, very wide array of chalkboards. And then he would spend the rest of the class basically reading us what he wrote. Like, in what universe did that make sense? Just give us handouts and let us go home. It was really nonsense.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And I guess I could hear the argument that like kids left to their own devices, wouldn't work. So like you have to have them in some kind of space where like that's set aside to
yeah,
study and learn. But
yeah.
like, yeah.
But it shouldn't be just talking at them. It needs to be more first of all interdisciplinary. So like separating out arbitrarily, and it doesn't feel arbitrary because that's what we're used to. But if you think about it, that's not how the world works, and it's somewhat arbitrary that we separate out English and social science and math, right? Like that's not how things work. Um, and to rather than having like examinations, have like regular deliverables that they're able to continuously work on. Not you cram for everything and then you have a test and then you go on with your life. And there's nothing you can
Right.
do if you do badly on the test. Like there is nothing in this world that works that way. Even if you're like a surgeon, I feel like that's probably one of the highest stakes things. Or if you're like a military person, like you can have like the worst thing in the world ends in, people not surviving or dying or whatever it might be. There's usually still some level of ability to go back and fix things and right some wrongs. And it's only in what Peter Thiel calls was the words that he used, the academic, sorry, the he calls it like a contrived academic parallel reality where there is no undoable.
It's so obnoxious.
It's
What is it
very
called?
obnoxious. Oh man, let me.
What do you
I
call it? What's
think
the words?
I think he calls it a contrived.
That sounds like someone living in a contrived parallel academic parallel reality would say. You know? Did you read that? Yeah. 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 It's excellent. It's true. I mean, it's so funny because it's also been like something that everyone knows for so long. Like every rock song is like I learned more from, life and experience than I ever learned in school. And like it's been like a recognized idea since the 60s minimum, like how come we haven't done anything about it? Like it's a problem that we know about. Like we're not even arguing about it. We're just like, well, sorry. You're I'm not even gonna argue with you. It's not even that I think you're wrong. I just don't know what to tell you. Yes. Yes. So it's going on actually a little bit longer than I thought it would. It's good. Ari hasn't really stuck around in previous podcasts for. Hello.
Oh,
um,
telling the
why
world
don't you?
how the only other podcast that I recorded with you was short.
You heard the whole thing.
No, I just said the
That was the whole thing.
end. Nice.
So I guess you heard the whole thing.
No.
Yeah. The last one I recorded was on Jerry Garcia's birthday or death
Oh
day, one of the
yeah, we took a
two.
puff. It was a good time.
Yes, yes. And then you said
Yes,
you
yes.
don't know it. By the way, it's funny because Velvo is like, I started listening to your episode with Ari, and he's like, and you guys are talking about something super obscure and specific, and I was like, I don't know what any of this is. And he just got off the podcast.
What were we talking about? I don't remember.
We're just talking about Jerry Garcia, but he didn't know who Jerry Garcia was. And I'm like, dude, you don't
Uh,
know who Jerry Garcia is. It's not on
what?
us. It's not on us that you don't know who the Grateful Dead are. Like,
No, I understand he's sober now, but he's still totally a stone rat heart. I'm disappointed with him.
uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yes.
I think yeah, it's different types of stoning though. You know,
No, that's true. That's true. That's true. I mean, pop culture, in the same way that pop culture did not exist in your life until you were a little bit older. Um, I mean, yeah. Anyway,
right.
okay,
So yes, the rest of
so
your trip.
yeah, so right, so Israel was great. I mean,
What was
have you
yeah?
ever been in Israel on Yom Kippur other than yeshiva?
Not other than yeshiva.
So, I mean, what did you? I'm assuming when you were in yeshiva, you just kind of hung around yeshiva on Yom Kippur, yeah?
I mean, we didn't even like. It was literally 16-hour prayer session. You
And
know,
you sat in davening the whole time? Oh my Lord.
pretty much. I mean, they made it nice actually. They made it fun. There was a ton of singing, and then
Oh,
they'd
that's
stop
nice.
for breaks. And I mean,
Okay.
it wasn't just one person lecturing or droning or whatever. Like it was much
Okay.
more interactive. They're
That
very
is
they're very
nice.
intentional about it because they know how miserable everyone is. So like, you know
Yes.
what? Like if this is gonna happen anyway, like let's find ways to make this a little bit more pleasant.
That's very nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so what do you know about what the rest of Israel looks like on Yom Kippur?
Zero.
Okay, so I mean in general, especially somewhere like
Tel
Neve
Aviv.
Tzedek, like the one of the most secular parts of Tel Aviv. Um, it's extremely secular. Like you wouldn't know that people are Jewish a lot of the time unless you're in like other than recognizing that you're in Tel Aviv.
Right.
Um, but still on Yom Kippur, it doesn't matter how secular you are, it doesn't matter who you are. Um, you don't drive. it's very interesting. You don't drive, and you generally dress in like classic Israeli um, holiday and Shabbat attire. So like you'll wear
So
some form
button-down shirt
of
and pants.
yeah, like and like lighter clothing, like blue and white, and you're not driving. So, um, the entire country shuts down. If you're a kid, you're on a bike. So, like, I think a lot of like more secular people will call it like a bicycle holiday. You can literally you walk in the middle of the road. It's like gangs of like young kids on bikes. It's very funny. And then um, for Ne'ilah, the very end of Yom Kippur everybody shows up. So like they relocated. Normally the shul that Rachel's dad goes to is like this smaller place, and because more people come on Yom Kippur, they moved it to an outdoor area, which wasn't great because it was hot, but you know whatever.
And you're
And
fasting for
then
24 hours.
right, you're not drinking, you're not eating, and you're sweating, so it's
Yeah.
not ideal. But Ne'ilah, you had like the entire like block around the shul. Everybody is there with their kids, and like people are like filming it like they're on their phones because like not everybody is like from, but everybody is there and nobody's driving and you really like yeah sure you could be somewhere where there's a lot of Jews like Hollywood, Florida, or Manhattan or Muncie, and you can feel like you're with your people to some level, like you're in a community that's doing it, but it's not fully immersive
Yeah,
because
totally not.
there are most people aren't, and in Israel it really is, and like it really just drives home that we are one people, being in that environment. And um yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend if you're ever planning a trip around Sukkot to Israel to make the effort to be there for Yom Kippur. It's really
Right. It's only a
very
couple of days
beautiful.
before too. Right.
Yeah, yeah, like it's very attainable. Um, but yeah, so anyway, that I mean that was overall the theme of the trip. It was very needed. The last time that I was in Israel was when you and I went in the end of 2018, so it's been like 6 years.
Was it
Um,
2018?
yeah, end of 2018.
Wow.
I got to see, I didn't get to meet his fiance, but I did get to hang out with Avrami and see where he's living and see where he's going to school and all that for a bunch of hours. So that was really nice. Um, um, and then,
His
yeah,
apartment's better than his apartment's better than his previous one, right?
yes, yes, it's like a normal apartment now. It's a two bedroom. He's got a spare bed even. It's not like a comfortable bed because it's like a crappy Israeli mattress, but like like he has a
It's
spare
so funny how
full size bed.
advanced they are. It's so funny how advanced Israel is and how primitive they are in so many
Oh my
aspects of
Lord.
life.
We kept pointing that out, by the way. It's like the most high-tech stuff comes out of Israel, yet you're walking around and there's like exposed wires everywhere. And like everything is like like everything technological. Like it's a developing country in so many ways, and yet
It's
so much
so
high-tech
crazy,
stuff comes
dude.
out of there. It's very, very weird. It's very strange. But yeah, I mean that was overall the theme of the trip there. So it was 10 perfect days. We literally walked miles every day. Um, we walked to Neve Tzedek is walking distance from it's right by the Shuk in Tel Aviv, and then
Yeah.
very close also to the beach and not so far from Yaffo. So like really like just lots of really
There's a lot
great
to do.
walking
Yeah.
around. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we also like, we didn't want to, like we went to Jerusalem one day, but we didn't want to go so far just because, I mean, not a great time to really go touring around to unfamiliar parts of Israel. Um,
I don't know if I agree with
and
that, by the way. I think it's very cautious.
I think
But
you'd be,
like,
no, I think
there's not a lot going
to,
on
to be clear, I
in
think
Israel.
unless you're going to northern Israel or near Gaza, you're gonna be completely fine. But I'd be more, unless I have to go somewhere like that, I'd be more comfortable being somewhere familiar.
Right.
That's all. So
Right.
like I didn't like we've already done all the touristy things. Like it'd be cool to go to Masada, but I don't need to. I don't need to go to the Dead Sea. Um
Oh yeah, that's real touristy.
yeah, exactly. Oh, I forgot to mention, first day we were there, we're walking around and I see a turtle burb because I guess
Ah.
that brewery is doing better and becoming a little bit bigger. So first day I see a turtle burb and I'm like, ah, this is gonna be a good trip.
Did you get the beer?
No, because it was like 11 a.m. and I hadn't slept in 20 hours. Which
Oh
honestly
man.
is an excuse to get the do now that I say it out loud, but whatever.
You know I didn't. You know
Um,
I didn't drink. I didn't drink alcohol in 3 weeks on Shabbos in 2 days from now.
whoa. Are you going
The
to, or
first
you're enjoying being sober?
well, I'm not 100% sober, but
From sober from alcohol.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
just I decided to take a month break,
Yeah. That's
and
nice.
I
Yeah.
haven't done it. I haven't done it since I graduated high school, dude. Since
That's
we graduated high school.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like having multiple vices is a lot. So definitely if I'm enjoying more weed, then I tend to not drink alcohol really.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But okay, yeah. So anyway, so then we go to Italy. We land in Milan. We landed at like
Milano.
Milano, so we landed at like midnight. So we're like walking around. It's like, 1 in the morning. Like we, went to get some food and just walk around a little bit before going to sleep. And somebody tries to mug us.
No way.
So that was welcome to Italy.
What
It was the
happened?
classic. It was the classic like move against tourists. You have a group of three guys, and they come up to you, and one of them goes kind of around to like out of your field of view, and the two guys in front of you try to like keep your attention, and they try to touch you in some kind of way, so that the third guy can like snatch something off of you and hope that you don't notice because you're being distracted.
Oh wait,
Um,
you're being pickpocketed. It's not mugged.
Pickpocketed. Sorry, yes, pickpocketed.
Mugged is violent.
Mugged is violent. You're right. You're right. Sorry, yes, pickpocketed.
Okay.
But we're both not drunk. Like I think that probably works best on drunk people. And also, I'm with
Yeah.
Rachel, who was hyper vigilant about these things, so it was
Yes.
fine. But it was a little bit of a welcome to Italy. Um, yeah, you really can't spend, I mean, you've been there, you really can't spend more than a day in Milan. I think if we were stuck there for some reason for longer, then we could, you could go up to Lake Como and stuff. That'd be nice.
Lake Como
You
was
went when you went,
beautiful.
yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel like
Amazing.
you were in Naboo?
In what?
In, I think episode 2 of Star Wars.
Oh, is that where it was filmed?
Yeah, those like beautiful stuff with anime and Padme on like the water. That's all Lake Como.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Also,
How is the
I don't remember that
touristiness of
scene.
Lake Como?
It's extremely touristy.
I hate that.
Um,
Yeah.
it's so touristy.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
there are touristy parts and then there are less touristy parts. But the parts that aren't touristy aren't like fun to meander around. They're kind of just like shittier, tiny, buildings or structures. And
That's
like,
such a shame.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. But
Mhm.
like the nature is what makes Lake Como so incredible. You know, what I mean, that's where I got my parking tickets and speeding
Yeah.
tickets that I haven't paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been
Uh,
it's been 2 years.
yeah. How fast are you driving that you got a ticket?
I don't know. I can't tell. Everything was what do you call it?
Everything's in kilometers. Nice,
Everything's
bro.
in kilometers. I literally I would base it. I would base it on feel and what cars in front of me were going, and then occasionally I would see a speed limit sign and just see where I was driving. Be like, oh shoot, like
Oh
it's
my
way too
Lord.
fast. But like, it's really hard to convert it. I
Yeah. 100 kilometers an hour is about 60 miles an hour. That was my frame of
I didn't
reference.
know that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
I mean,
I what do you
I only
call
know
it?
that because when you American cars have both, obviously, because we're not
Yeah.
imbeciles. And um, if you go up to Canada, all of a sudden everything's kilometers. So living near Canada and then therefore driving to Canada, like at least a couple times a year, you have to kind of look at it and do that. Um, so yeah, yeah. So that was how I kind of had that kind of idea.
How long
I
do you think it would
also
take for you to adjust to driving in like England or Ireland? We're on the other
Oh,
side of the
good
street.
Lord. I don't know. I was thinking when we got off the plane in London, and I'm like, everybody's driving on the wrong side of the street. Like, it's disorienting as a pedestrian. Like, you're looking the wrong way when you go to cross the street.
By the way, Ireland has signs all over the street telling you which way to look before you crossed.
Yeah.
because they know that people aren't used to it. Did England have that?
Um, in some areas, like especially around like the Buckingham Palace, Big Ben area, they
Yeah.
had some of that. Like the super touristy spots, they have that. Uh,
How many people a year? Do you think it's in the dozens or less that get hit because they look the wrong way?
I have no idea. Probably
Like
a lot.
people that are visiting, people that are drinking. The problem is that like it doesn't usually happen if you're a native, right? So that means you have like how many tourists do you think get hit by looking the wrong way every year?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious how many tourists in general are hit every year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a lot easy. It's a lot hard to get hit in a place where you know how to look, which way to look before you cross the street.
No, that's
You're literally
definitely
going
true.
in blind. If you look the wrong way, you're literally going in blind. You're just walking in the
Yeah.
street.
I mean, I think it's good practice in general when you're anywhere near moving vehicles, regardless of whether or not you're in one, to assume that everybody else that's driving one is stupid.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the
and
best
so
way. That's the best
like,
way to drive.
yeah, and so I mean, as we learned from our experience witnessing an accident in
Yeah,
Florida, um, and so even as a
that's
pedestrian,
crazy.
like, yeah, yeah, even as a pedestrian, always looking both ways before you cross the street is a good idea because, like, somebody could be driving the wrong way. It's
Yeah,
not unheard of.
but it's a lot
Um,
less common,
it's definitely less common, but it's possible.
right? So
Yeah.
you went to Milano. Then you didn't go to Lake Como, right?
We didn't go to Lake Como. No, we just explored Milan for a day, which there's plenty to do in Milan for a day. It's just longer than that. You're probably going to lose your mind a little.
Yeah.
Um, so we did that, and then we went from there. And I'm going to be a little quick because I do have to get back to work. I have now people asking me things.
Like, why aren't you working?
No, like I was supposed to sync up with somebody. He
Oh,
was on a meeting, so I was waiting for him to let me know that he was ready.
okay,
Um,
gotcha.
um, So yeah, no, we went from there. We took the train to Firenze or Florence, um,
I
which
was like, I don't
I
know
don't
what
know.
that is. I know what Florence is.
Yeah, I don't know how we have such different names for things. I kept seeing Firenze everywhere, and I'm like, what is Firenze? It's just the name of the place. Very confusing. Um, Florence was very beautiful. There was a lot of that was the only place where we were able to kind of walk into somewhere, and even though the bread was weirdly bad that they would give you at the beginning of your meal. Um, we had some like pretty mind-blowing pasta there. So that
Oh
was very
yeah,
cool.
nice.
Yeah.
Mind blowing pasta.
Yeah. Like pasta that like for pizza in Italy, wildly overrated. Significantly better in New York. You can make pizza as good as the average pizza that you get in Italy at home. It's stupid. Without an uni even, like to get a pizza steel or a pizza stone and you can make pizza that is better than your average pizza in Italy. So,
Okay,
nonsense.
good to know.
Um, Pasta obviously is easy to make. Homemade pasta is not good because it's difficult. It's good because it's effort. One second, I have to blow my nose. So what, like really makes pasta in my mind blowing is when they serve it to you and you're eating it and you're like, I would not know how to make this sauce at home. Like it's all about the sauce.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Um, and obviously fresh pasta is significantly better than like dried pasta, but like yeah, it's all about the sauce. Um,
Okay.
so the only place that we had anything that was like really like that was like one place in Florence. Um, and then Florence also was the only place where we there was like really like good live music just on the street.
Oh, that's nice.
Which was really nice. Yeah, and then like like there's artists just sitting there like painting stuff and it's very touristy like there's this famous bridge in Florence. Did you go to Florence?
Yeah, for a little bit.
Did you
Kind of
go
more
to the did
driving
you go to
through around. Yeah.
the Gold Bridge?
Not, it's possible, and I just don't remember it.
So there's this bridge that's, I mean, it's definitely worth seeing because it's very cool. There's I mean, there's the river running kind of through Florence, so one of the bridges, they built all of these like little shops and stuff on it, and you're like, how are these things not falling off the bridge? Because you can see from when you're on one of the sides, like a lot of them are kind of held up by like wood that's on an angle because the stuff is built off the side of the bridge. And it's all jewelry shops. So you'd
Shoot, Ari.
think,
Wait,
yeah,
hello? I'm
hello.
losing you. 1 second. It's
Uh,
built up by what?
um, it's like all these little shops that are built into the side of the bridge, and they're kind of like going over the side, so they're like precariously held up by wood, and it's like that by itself is very cool to see. Um, and it's all these jewelry shops. So it's this like famous part of Florence. However, it's been taken over, as we have learned, much of Italy, by tourism. And
Mm,
so there's something like 20 or 30 shops, and more than half of them are owned by one company and just have the same stuff.
that sucks.
So you'd think that it'd be like a really nice place to like shop for jewelry and get like a variety of stuff. um, you'd be incorrect, unfortunately.
Alas.
So that's kind of also like, you start to see these patterns in these Italian cities of how like yeah, sure, there are like some industries of Italy where they have some exports, but for the most part, I
But
think
it's
it
less
really
than
is
what you
just
would think.
tourism. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it really is
I
just
felt that way about
tourism.
Greece. I felt that way about Greece. I didn't feel that
Yeah.
way about Italy as much, but I felt that way about Greece way more.
Isn't Greece entirely tourism?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So Italy is
Or,
not
yeah.
fully there yet, but it's close, it feels like.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, yeah, Florence was nice, and then from Florence we went over to Cinque Terre, which is just Italian for five towns, and it's these five seaside villages that kind of inspired the setting of Luca. So I watched Luca on the train there.
Nice.
Um, Kind of mid
I
Pixar
gotta
movie,
watch
but
it.
it's cute. It's cute. It's worth watching at some point, especially with Shua if you're trying to like just sit down and like watch something cute. I think yeah, Rachel will
Yeah.
probably enjoy it too. Like it's just it's a cute movie. It's not like terribly special, but it's it's worth watching. I enjoyed it. Um, and so it's these five seaside villages that are like all the houses are like these pastel colors, and it's built in like these valleys, kind of. Well, one of them is like a peninsula. They're very beautiful. They're very crazy. There's a ton of steps everywhere. Um, but like everything is overly touristy. So all of the shops are just selling like the same garbage that you'd probably buy on Amazon.
Yeah.
The food in the restaurants is not great. However,
I went to
yeah.
Italy and all I got was this shirt.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly, exactly.
oh
Like
man.
literally, you could buy it in the Epcot Italy pavilion.
Yeah.
Um, um, it's just south of Genoa, which is where pesto comes from, and
Oh,
the
cool.
region also is where we get tiramisu. So, we took a cooking class, and this man named Luca, his apartment. Um, he taught us how to make tiramisu. He taught us how to make pesto, and then he taught us how to make trophy, which is the shape of fresh pasta that's traditionally eaten with pesto. So that was a really great experience, and that was with a whole bunch of other tourists. Actually, mostly not American, which was interesting. There was a couple other Americans. They were a younger couple doing long distance in. They're both from Boulder. One of them is in school in Boulder. The other one's in Ohio. So that was a second experience on the trip to go back to the earlier theme where mentioning Israel got a very positive reaction. Turned out
Oh,
that
nice.
they had worked at some like random camp that happens to have like a lot of Israelis sending their kids there. It was very funny. So they were
Okay.
very nice, and that was it was a really good experience.
I don't know how high of a Israeli population there is in either Boulder or Ohio.
Yeah. Oh no. So I think it's somewhere in Colorado. This camp.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I don't know numbers, but they said there was just a lot of Israelis. Um, so yes, I mean that was cool, and now I have purchased a mortar and pestle so that I can make pesto the proper way instead of using a food processor. Um, and what else? Yeah. Then from there, we rented the car and drove over to Siena, which is one of these bigger walled villages in Tuscany. Um,
Okay.
we totally misunderstood what Siena was. We thought that it was going to be a little bit more quaint and less touristy. So we didn't end up spending. We spent I think we were there for like 3 nights. We only spent one day in Siena because we actually didn't love it. It was a little bit too big.
Right.
Um,
So what did you
but
do
we
from
went to
instead of it or from there?
so well, we had the car, so we went to some other areas of Tuscany. There was another one. It's similar to Siena, but much smaller. It's called San Gimignano. Um, Part of what Rachel and I are also learning in life is that if you have a really great experience somewhere, don't go back.
Oh.
So we had so like one example was last year on Halloween, we were in Austin and she took me on a date. There was this like outdoor pumpkin walk type thing with like these really elaborate pumpkin settings. So we're like walking through it and it's just it was really incredible and we really enjoyed it. So we get to the end and we're like, okay, let's grab something to eat and then do it again. And doing it again was a mistake because you do it again and you're like, wait a second, these pumpkins are all fake. Which obviously they're fake, but like you couldn't unsee it. Um, so this place was a little bit similar. We had stopped there on the way to Siena, because it looked like there was some nice stuff to see there. Um, and we only saw like one part of it, but we happened to see the part that actually has like the genuine artisanal shops, and it was really cute, and we thought that that was what the place was like, and then we ran into um we were just walking and this like big tattooed guy comes over to me and like he's like very aggressively like puts his hand in front of me like to shake my hand, and he's like, hey, wait a second, we know each other, and I'm like backing off like, who is this guy? Turns out that when we were
Who
in
is he?
Florence, well, so when we were in Florence, we did a tour of the Statue of David, and
Wait, you what? When you were in Florence, what happened?
we saw the Statue of David, and we did a little tour, so that we'd have some idea of like why it matters, and some idea of like why it's situated the way it is in the museum, which was a really nice experience and like much better than just going and seeing it. And so this was a couple the that was on the this tour with us. But we didn't really recognize them so much because we were in a museum, so we weren't really talking to them, but they recognized us. So then we chatted with them for a while. Blue, Blue, come here. We chatted with them for a while, and they were the ones I mentioned to you how we met people that had like a crazy experience with the mob in Venice.
Oh
Um,
yes, that was them.
so that was them. Um, and them also, we mentioned, because we were talking about our trips. So we mentioned that we were that we'd gone to the Middle East and talk about that a little bit. And then also we got a very positive response from them. Like they're like, genuinely curious, very positive about it. They live in El Paso and their family
Ah,
is Mexican. So I was saying how I spent a month there, which always gets the same reaction of why in heavens would you ever do that?
yes.
And mentioned how we walked into Juarez, which is the Mexican city that's just on the other side of the border there. So yeah, generally a very nice interaction. But so then the next day we were like, okay, where do we go from Siena? Let's go back there. It seemed much nicer than Siena. But we entered on the other side of the village, and it was just the same. It
No
was just
way.
touristy as hell. So it totally ruined it. Like it was cute. There were some pretty areas, but like it definitely burst the it shattered the glass, to use a How I Met Your Mother reference.
Yes,
Um,
shattered the glass.
yes, yes, yes.
That show, it's a shame.
Yeah.
Did not age well.
Sorry,
Hello.
just
You okay,
sneezing.
sneezing?
Yeah.
You can sneeze. You don't have to. You
Ah.
don't have to mute it. I want to hear it. The
Yeah.
glory.
Not trying to blow out anybody's speakers if anybody actually listens to this podcast.
Yes.
Which I hope they will, because someday you'll be famous and people will binge your work. Um, or if Melville
Yeah,
tries to give this one a talk, I hope that he has made it this far and that we've been less esoteric and that he is still listening and enjoying.
I hope so.
Um, yes, yes. Um, yes, so that was also kind of helping to drive home that experience of if you have a good experience somewhere, don't do it again.
Right.
Um, So then there, we're driving back to Siena. We're on the highway, and somebody just slams on the brakes.
Oh
Um,
dear.
of course, assuming that that's going to happen. I'm always driving with a healthy follow distance, so I'm able to slam on the brakes as well, and I'm able to avoid hitting them by really a matter of feet. Um, However, because it's Italy, and you know how people drive in Europe in general, and also in Italy, somebody slams into us.
Oh my gosh, it's so unnerving. By the way,
Yes.
my initial reaction would have been fear for Rachel's back.
Yeah, her back hurt for a couple days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it ended up being fine. It really was a very minor collision as it goes. It was jarring because I mean the car lurched forward when they hit us.
yeah.
Um, but I mean they were in some like crappy minivan. It was a car full of olive farmers that didn't speak English, and an older Turkish man driving that didn't speak a word of English. Um, and even so, like the front of their car, like they kind of damaged the front a little bit, but it wasn't crumpled at all. It just kind of like bent the plastic and probably pushed the panel back a little bit. Um, because okay, so to back up to the rental car, when we first um got it, because it was less than half the price to just get like the cheapest option was like 180 bucks for 4 days. Um just like a small manual car.
The
I had never
Fiat.
driven stick shift before. The little Kia is what they ended up giving us. They gave us a little beat up Kia that had already been badly rear-ended. So that was a little bit of foreshadowing. And then so we're driving it, and so this is a couple days beforehand, when we first get the rental car. I was able to, and I'm still very impressed with myself. Um, I was able to navigate out of the like very cramped parking lot into the local roads and then get on the highway, and I was able to do all of that without stalling once,
That's awesome.
um, which was very nice. Of course, I stalled as soon as we got to a toll booth, and so
Right.
people were honking at me. But and that was even better because for whatever reason, the toll booth I just pulled into a random lane because everything's in Italian because they don't really
I know nothing makes any sense there,
expect
dude.
they don't, and they don't expect tourists to drive, I guess. So everything's just so we pull into a lane and there's no like button to push. There's like I think it was a
You got
lane
a ticket. You got a
for
ticket.
bikes. No, I know, but this was like a different kind of lane. This was not one of the car lanes. It was like a lane for bikes. So this voice comes out of nowhere and it goes back up. So I'm like trying to get into reverse and yeah, a little bit of a. Eventually, they just opened the thing and let us through. They gave up on us. But so pretty much as soon as we get on the highway, we get a low tire pressure warning, but the car
hmm
feels fine, like it's handling totally
Yeah.
fine. So we continue driving. We pass through Pisa on the way, which is convenient because while the Leaning Tower of Pisa is definitely worth seeing, it's definitely not worth a trip to it. Um, so we
That's
got
what do you
to.
call it? It's cute. It's kind of cute, but like I don't think it's like awe-inspiring.
It's not awe-inspiring. It's just like it's part of a church system. Like it's not, yeah, it's not anything that anybody should take a day trip to see. But if you're passing by it, like we were, then it's definitely worth doing. Um, so we do that, which was nice. The school in Pisa was very weird. Like, maybe 2 or 3 minute walk from the Leaning Tower, there is a school campus for some school that's there. And the walls of the buildings in their courtyard, one of them has like a 20-foot tall Palestinian flag. There's like a
Wow.
painting of a unicorn holding a machine gun, like just a lot of like very anti-Israel stuff. It was very weird. So that rattled us a little bit. Um, but so anyway, we get back to the car, and oh, lo and behold, one of the tires is completely flat. So that was nice. So now we call the rental car
So
company.
inconvenient. So
Yeah,
annoying.
and I'm not about to try dealing with roadside assistance in Italy if we can avoid it. So thankfully, this car had a spare tire in it. So taught Rachel how to change a tire. So now she has hands-on experience doing that, which was nice and good bonding moment. And we get back in the car and we drive it to the little municipal airport that's maybe 20 minutes from there, the little Pisa airport, which was also a pain in the ass. Like There's no signs anywhere telling you what to go if you have a stupid rental car. So like we're literally driving around. I'm like going in circles. It's airport driving, so it's even worse than city driving. Even though it's a small airport. And so by the time we finally figure out where to go, I am so done with the whole manual driving thing, and Rachel is nauseous. So thankfully, they give us a automatic transmission Jeep for
Yeah,
free.
much better.
So yes, much much
Oh
better.
no, but back to your story. Now you
So
have this
back to
Jeep
our
that gets hit.
story. Yes, much much better being hit in the Jeep than in a shitty beat up Kia. Like even though it was minor, I don't want to know how much worse it would have been if we were in this like really crappy um
Already hit car.
already damaged car. So like the Jeep was raised enough that it walked away from the accident with like the smallest little dent to the bottom of the bumper, like very very minimal.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, that whole experience was fun. We got very lucky that there just happened to be one of the guys in the car was this very level-headed Afghanistani that spoke English. Um,
That's
so
convenient.
he facilitated the whole thing. Yeah, like we got Rachel called the police because we were like we have no idea what to do here. Um,
Policia.
yeah, which was it was very weird. The guy that hit us, the guy that was driving the car, was like kind of abrasive. But then as soon as we said that we were calling the police and that they were coming, he like totally like gear shifted and was like in like a proper good mood. It was very weird. But I think he was just kind of happy that like we were getting the authorities involved and that we were going to try to screw him over in some way.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, I mean, it took some time, and it turns out, and this is very good to know, and I don't know if we have this in American rental cars also, or if it just happens to be this one company, Europe Car, that does this, but they include in the packet that has all of the car's documents, like the registration and the insurance and all that, they have an incident form for if you get into an accident, something for you to fill out with the other people that were involved in the incident for you to give them for them to give to the insurance company. So it's not like any official form. It's just something that the insurance company put together.
Yeah.
But they're like, if you don't do this, and they have this in like they don't tell you about it. It's just Rachel called the police, and the police knew about it and found it in the car.
Right.
If you don't do this, the rental car company just goes, "Oh well, you got into an accident. You assume all the liability. We're not getting
Yeah,
insurance
of course.
involved."
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
so
course.
like very good to know, and I'm also like, I mean, I already have a dash cam in the main car that I drive here, but I'm like thinking about like printing out some of these just to have on hand. Like that feels like a good
Yeah,
thing
it's
to
smart.
have.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, I mean, that kind of killed our day a little bit because, it was like we were excited to have a little bit of an earlier evening, and then that took a bunch of hours. So then the next morning, so we get back to Siena and we're like, okay, we're not gonna we're not gonna get in the car at all the next day. Let's take a break from driving here for a little bit. So I wake up a few hours before Rachel and I did some research and I found like the one place in Siena that looked like a good spot to get massages. This little Thai massage place run by this just one woman that came from, I think she said she was from Bangkok. She didn't really speak English, but she gave like literally the best massages of our lives. So I got us both massages. It was really nice, especially after walking for so long. Like I just got like she did like specifically the type of massage that is good for if you've been walking a lot. And then Rachel got got one for her back, which was bothering her from being hit. So that was nice. We had just like a relaxing day the next day. And then the day after that, drove down to Rome. Um, oh, I
Roma.
missed the whole part of the story. So Cinque Terre, while not worth going to just to see the villages or to, especially not for the food, is absolutely worth going to. The thing that it's really famous for is, well, they're famous for their wine, which I didn't really get because I didn't think their wine was all that great. But you can hike between the villages. It's like a 10-mile hike from the bottom one to the top one. And
That's
that is
fun.
worth doing. Yeah, that's really worth doing. And so for one of the legs, we met just this random older American couple, John and Helene. and John was sick of taking cooking classes. Helene wanted to take another cooking class, so John joined me for one of the legs of the hike, and he was a really cool guy. They live on Long Island. He's originally from LA, and he is a retired ferry captain from the Long Island Ferry.
That's cool.
So that was a really nice conversation. Hanging out with him. Super nice guy. Um, Anyway, yeah. So going back to we drive down to Rome, and so that was kind of cool because at this point I'm like I'm not getting back on another Italian highway if I can avoid it. And we wanted to have a little more of a scenic drive anyway. You know, we were in no rush to get to Rome, so drove through Tuscany, got to see a lot of it. It was really nice. Stopped in some other places. Um, Kind of confirmed that even if you go to a non-touristy one of these villages they really all start to kind of look the same. And so like you'll probably have better luck with getting better food, which makes sense if you go to a non-touristy one. But Tuscany is kind of overrated, to be perfectly honest. It's
I
beautiful,
didn't
but
love
there's really
Tuscany.
yeah, like there's not really a lot there. Like what else did you do there if you drove through there?
Not much. We went to, did some touring, or went to kosher wineries.
Oh, that's cool. There's
There's a
kosher
kosher
winery there
restaurant.
though.
But
That's cool. There's kosher winery in Tuscany.
yeah, there's no kosher uh, vineyard, which is really disappointing. So it's just like a warehouse where they just like a bunch of industrial equipment where they make wine.
Ah,
But you would hope that like we had these romantic ideas in our images in our head of like sprawling hills of like this kosher winery. Then we get
yeah,
to like some sketchy garage and we're like like a Lubavitch guy is like I own the
yeah,
restaurant and the winery and here's my operation,
yeah. That sounds
okay.
unfortunately after my experience, that sounds like what I would expect. Um, yeah, so then we went to Roma, and Roma's very cool. Also overly touristy, but like definitely more diversity in terms of like what there is there and what there is to see and do. And the history was very cool, especially going and seeing the Roman Forum and the Colosseum,
Hmm.
after having been in Jerusalem. And
Yeah.
like, we did like the newer tunnel tour there, so it was very cool to like do these things back to back. You guys didn't go to Rome, right?
No, we're gonna save it for next time we go because we
Yeah,
didn't have a lot of time.
yeah, it's worth a trip on its own. There's really so much there.
Yeah.
And then the Roman, I didn't know this, and I think I texted you a little bit about it, but the Roman Jewish community is very unique, um, in that they've been there since second century BCE. So like not having anything to do with Galut or anything, just like group of Jews that were most likely merchants, I think,
Yeah.
just went there. To do their thing. Like the Kingdom of Israel and the Romans actually had at that point like a fairly healthy relationship, which was very cool. Um, and well,
Hello?
sorry, there's Rachel has emerged. There's a scary bug that I have to go kill, a dragon, if you will.
Yes, I hate
Um,
those dragons.
yeah, horrible. Can I give this to you? Oh, okay, hold on, I have to go slay the beast. Um, but so anyway, yeah, no, that was cool to learn about. And then it was very cool. Where is it? Okay, so if he comes back, vacuum him up. It was very cool in the Colosseum to see how many of these like plaques they have from when it was built, all in Latin, obviously, but commemorating that it was built with the spoils of Jerusalem. Um,
Oh wow, I didn't know
like
that.
yeah, like very cool. Because I mean, the Colosseum is also interesting to see just because it's the first ever arena. Like, I think
Yeah.
arena means sand or something because the whole floor of like the fighting part, the arena was sand. I mean, every single stadium that you ever go to today is based on the Colosseum. This is very
Right.
cool. Um, and then the Titus or Titus or whatever, who
Hmm.
was the guy that did the bulk of the destruction of the Second Temple and all of that. There's an arch built for him in the Roman Forum. So on there also you have like a um, like a carved image of like them carrying the spoils of war, including like the menorah is like very um much the uh focus of it. So that's cool. Um, and that's also part of why the thinking is that the Ark of the Covenant went missing before all of that, because you'd think that if they had taken it away, that they would have included it in there.
Right.
Um, but yeah, like I mentioned to you, I was trying to find out, like, okay, so there were all of these Jews that were living in Rome for generations at this point, and all of a sudden their leader shows up with thousands of Jewish slaves, having destroyed the center of Jewish life, and like with all of these religious artifacts, and there's not a single primary source of like what the Jews that like the Roman Jews did or thought. It's very weird.
Yeah. 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 That is
Um,
interesting.
yeah.
I guess at the
Um,
time, yeah, I guess history wasn't. I guess history wasn't being as forgiving towards the losing side at that point.
oh, I mean, not at all. Like the idea that in all of history, I think the only conflict where the defensive force took land from those that attacked them and then gave that land back. I think literally the only time in all of history that's ever happened was 1967 with Israel.
Right.
Like that's not a normal thing to do. Um, but anyway, yeah, so it's cool to see all that, and then I mean it's mostly modernized now, but I mean you could go the area that we stayed in. Is called Trastevere. It's which I think just means on the other side of the Tiber River, which
Hmm.
was originally settled by Jews when we first came to Rome. Um, Obviously they weren't treated throughout all of the time that they were in Rome so nicely. So like eventually they were kicked out and they were moved to the other side of the river to an area that would flood a lot. So like nobody wanted to live there, and that was where the Jewish ghetto still is today.
Yeah.
Um, but in Trastevere, you can walk around, you can see like a lot of it. Part of what makes the area unique is that most of Rome was kind of like rebuilt and modernized. This area hasn't been to the same degree. So, like, there's this building that's now a restaurant. And if you look up, there are like these exposed columns with Hebrew on them because, like, 1500 years ago, it was a shul.
Wow.
It's really crazy. And I
Yeah,
mean,
that's really
that's
cool.
generally, yeah, and that kind of thing has generally been my theme of touring Europe so far, because it's the same thing in like random areas of of Croatia, like Split and Dubrovnik and Zagreb, or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like literally you can go to any European city and you'll find signs from
Well, it's
thousands
because
of
it's
years ago
older.
of
Yeah.
Jews.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean that's a obviously that's a whole other podcast episode, but like that's something that I think is missed by a lot of less educated and especially secular Jews is um, this idea that just because we're entrenched in American society, we're safe here. Um, like you don't
Yeah.
have to. It's not very difficult to find places where we were more entrenched in society than we even are here, and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, So to that point, Rome is the only city in all of Europe to have never expelled their Jewish population. So even during World War II, like, yeah, the Nazis came in and they took a good amount of Jews, representing a fairly small percentage of the population, but like, anybody's that they take is horrible, especially because they came in at first and they were like, give us 50 kilograms of gold, which is just an insane amount, and we'll leave your Jews alone. So the Jews of the community got all their gold together, and a lot of the friends of the Jews also did. So they took this ransom and they gave it to the Nazis. And of course, it didn't matter. So the Nazis came back. And yeah, the Romans didn't really do much in the way of trying to protect the Jews.
But they didn't.
Um,
They didn't throw them out.
they didn't throw them out. Yeah. So it's a very unique. Roman Jews aren't Ashkenazi or Sephardi or Mizrahi. They are Roman Jews. So
That's so cool.
it's very cool. It's very cool. It's very interesting. I want to learn more about it. Um, and yeah, and then from there we went to London because there's not very many international destinations that fly direct to Seattle, so we're gonna have to do a stopover anyway. So I looked at the short list. It was like two places in Germany, which I have no interest in going to. Amsterdam, which is nice, but I don't really feel like I need to go back. And I mean, especially now, not going there anytime soon. And the flights also just didn't really
I'm
work so
surprised there are no
well.
flights from Dublin.
I think Dublin is one of them.
Should have gone
Um,
to Dublin.
well, it was only for a day, and if I go to Dublin, I want to go for longer. If I want to go if I'm
Nah,
gonna go to
you could do
Ireland,
plenty in a day.
yeah, if I'm gonna do the Northern United Kingdom, like I want to do Scotland and Ireland and all of that, and I want to do a proper trip there. But London I've been to before, and Rachel's been to before, so we just wanted somewhere nice to end our trip.
Yeah, it's nice. Dude, it's
So
like a
yeah, so we did
honeymoon.
that.
You did a honeymoon just now.
Basically. Yes, a
Great. It's
pre-moon,
an
a
awesome trip.
pre-moon. Yeah,
It's a
it was
great
very
trip.
nice. It was very nice.
Your
Um,
honeymoon's got to be better than this now. It's gonna be 2 months
I
and like
know.
eight
I don't know.
countries.
So that's part of the thinking also is first time Rachel had been to Italy before, but when she was a kid and it wasn't a trip that she planned. So a big part of the idea of this trip was like let's get a feel for all these parts of Italy and see if there's areas that we're interested in returning to. Um, and it was successful in that way. It was definitely successful in that way. Like
It's
next time we go
awesome.
to Italy, we'll have a much better frame of reference. Like that's something that we very much learned is it's very difficult to get any kind of real answer on what a place is really like just from looking online. It's
Yeah, of
impossible.
course. Yeah,
Um, which makes sense, but you know. So you're like you have to go there and you have to feel it and see it.
yeah,
And so now next time we go to Italy, it'll be a much better trip. Not that this trip wasn't bad, but it was definitely naively planned in some ways. Um, and so we'll be able to be a little bit more intentional with it next time. And then from there, we flew back to Seattle, which was also a fairly easy flight. Um, and yeah,
was it
that's
10
it.
hours?
Something like that. Yeah. And we were sitting in the back of the plane, and it was one of these smaller Boeings, a new one. So it was nice, but it was smaller. So there was no third person in our row.
Oh,
So,
nice, nice.
so that was very nice. That was very nice. And I had like just a foot of empty space between me and the window. So it was very comfortable.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice.
Awesome, dude. Well, let's call it
But yeah,
here because
yes, yes.
I'm doing an episode with Andrew in 10 minutes. My phone's on 12%. So,
Tell pal
pal,
I say hello.
thank you. Yes, I will.
I know you're doing
So,
these back to back. These are Lex Friedman length podcasts.
these are so long, but we're gonna do it, dude.
All
We're gonna make it. Anyway, dude,
right.
thank you so much for doing this. And we will do this again soon,
Of
right?
course, we will. We will. All right. Love
And
you, buddy.
all right, love you too, dude. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.